Hello, everybody. Welcome to Shipyard. It's an odd time, an odd day for a stream. You're probably wondering, Grim, what are you doing streaming on a Saturday at 11 a.m. my time, Eastern time?
You were bored.
I was bored, but also I had the house to myself for a little bit. So I said, hey, we just took a week off from post Defense Con, post St. Jude stuff, right? Which again, big shout out. Over $70,000 raised, which is just an incredible amount. All from you on who've been watching this stream. So greatly appreciated. But post Defense Con, post St. Jude, wanted to take a week off. But I said, I got today free, got a little bit of a free time thing going on. Let's do a stream. Let's talk about some stuff that has popped. There hasn't been a lot. There hasn't been a lot of Star Citizen stuff that has popped in the last week. We're in that kind of weird, I think Execute refers to it as the eye of the storm, where we're post Defense Con now, but still not towards the best in show ship competition and all the stuff that comes later in the year, IAE, Citizen Con, all that stuff. So we're in that kind of quiet period. So, but there are some things to cover. Okay. First, let me make sure I got it up real quick because I probably don't. Let's see here. I probably don't. I don't. Okay,
We're doing it live.
We're doing this live, people. We are doing it live. But the first thing I wanted to shout out to everybody is the Gattac Railen giveaway has officially started. It's over on Gleam. You can get in on that. There will be a, have we pinned those to the channel?
We have.
Okay. The Gleam link is pinned to the channel, both channels. It's free to enter. Here's a cool thing. I'm going to be doing another giveaway. Okay. When the new alien ships come out, that is going to be, a little different, but it's going to be for one of the other alien ship releases, and that one is not going to be through Gleam. That one is going to be a contest related to Fleet Viewer, so more info on that soon. But this Railen here, that giveaway has started, so get in on that. It's free to enter, doing it through Gleam. We're doing it through Gleam. I've had some complaints about Gleam, but to be honest with you, we're going to do it through Gleam because they have some anti-spam and anti-botting things that do help me. They do help me. Hey, XQ, hope you're doing well. That do sincerely help me weed out problematic stuff. So anyways, Railen giveaway is going on. So get in on that if you're interested. We are going to talk about the Railen today. If you're wondering, though, again, why such a weird time, I think I want to address a few things about my content right here at the beginning of the show. So first and foremost, me and Art had already been talking that post Defense Con, there's probably going to be a month of like planning discussions and work kind of behind the scenes. Now I'll still do my shows as normal, but there'll be a bunch of work going on behind the scenes. And sometime in July, probably, I'm going to kind of relaunch everything STARJUMP. That's the plan. So what does that mean for you all? It means different shows, right? So the shows might be even named something different. They might be formatted a little differently. As a matter of fact, format is something I'm really focusing on right now. You might see the return of some favorites. So, for example, one of the shows that is coming back, I'm going to come back with it on this coming Wednesday, as I'm going to be bringing back Skunkworks, which is my show where I go in and kit bash or create things. I'm building some new interaction methods for Skunkworks. It should be a lot of fun for the audience. But the first project is going to be an Anvil carrier. And no, I'm not talking a Liberator. I'm talking an actual Kraken competitor. So something that should fit 2 mediums and maybe 4 small ships. So somewhere along that line, Again, it's going back to that idea that to get to the Odin, CIG is going to have to create other large and capital anvil assets, right? So with that, I thought it'd be fun to sort of work out kind of what maybe an anvil carrier would look like, a light carrier. So we'll see. I think it obviously, I did this previously with the Super Liberator, but I was a little bit more joking there. This one I want to approach a lot more realistically. So stay tuned for that. So you may see the return of some shows. You may see some shows that that I previously would do, but I'm gonna sort of relaunch them and do them in an all new way. So again, stay tuned for that. Now I've seen a couple people posting for the merch store and the Kraken mug. I'm just going to take out my Kraken mug right here, everybody. Kraken Captain mug. This is the STARJUMP Kraken Captain mug. These are available on the merch store there, starjump.printify.me. It does make a cup of coffee go down nicely. There are other mugs on there, though, not just the Kraken. If you're not a fan of that ship, seek help and order a different mug, and more stuff's coming. Got t-shirts, more merch ideas are being worked up, though, so stay tuned for that. Today, though, what are we talking about today? Obviously, new changes coming. Stay tuned for that. Sort of STARJUMP in general is getting reworked. I'm talking everything from the shows and their formatting to pre-recorded content, how I do giveaways, everything. So there's probably nothing that has the STARJUMP name on it that is not going to get changed in some major way. The Discord, the YouTube, the Twitter, Patreon, everything's getting changed. Yeah, Patreon will be getting some big changes for those of you. Yeah, some big ones. So for those of you who are Patreon patrons or thinking about becoming one, the tiers are getting all redone. And I'm bringing back a lot of stuff that people missed. One of those things being the custom ship liveries for Fleet Viewer for the higher tier patrons. That was something that I've heard a lot of people want, and we're going to do that. Sejanus21 says, question is Shipyard coming back? I'm going to pick up that question now just because it's on topic. I assume you mean the pre-recorded Shipyard episodes, right? Like the Crucible, the Merchantman, the Endeavor, stuff like that. Yes, I'm bringing those back, and I've just started working on the next one. Just started working on it, and like digging up all the old files and stuff. So yes, working on that. So yeah, stay tuned. Stay tuned. But what else are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about the PU monthly report. We're going to go through that. We are going to talk about the Star Citizen Squadron 42 fatigue that's been sort of bubbling in the community, right? We're going to talk about the player banning drama, my thoughts on that. I've had a few people message me and ask me my thoughts on it, which is always interesting because I'm just like, I don't know. Let me look into that. I don't keep up on enough stuff, apparently. But we're going to talk about some economy change stuff that I'm not happy about. And we're going to talk about Squadron 42 a little bit. The Q&A, we'll do some Q&A at the end. We may pick up some questions here or there through the show. So the question bot is running. Feel free to use it. All you got to do is use the word question, and the bot will pick it up on both YouTube and Twitch. Okay. All right. So
with context.
Try to give us some context, by the way. If you ask, if we're sitting here talking about the Railen, and then you ask a question, your question is like, but it's got those thrusters. What do you think about that? Maybe kind of put, what do you think about the Railen's thrusters? Just give us that context, because we won't get to the questions till the end of the show, and it helps us sort of know specifically what you're talking about. Okay. All right, going to switch over here. We're going to run through the PU monthly report. As you know, I do not read every part of the monthly report. Some of it, in a big way, is talking about the stuff we all know, and and we sort of just get iterative updates throughout, the year, and it's sort of on the same stuff. So I won't cover everything in detail, but yes. AI content. They essentially say here that they've been closing out tasks for 4.8, 4.9, obviously, bug fixes and stuff like that here. They do say, and I think this is the type of stuff I want to see more of. Okay. I don't know what you think about this, Art, but specifically, one of the things that bugs me about CIG and the work we see in the PU monthly report related to Star Citizen is a lot of it seems to be focused on the now. And we just don't hear Star Citizen 1.0 very often. Sorry, I got an itch on my head. There we go. We just don't hear that context very often, which always worries me. It makes me think, are we making any progress towards 1.0? So I love this last line they put in here, and I really hope to see more of this. But they say the 4.9 patch is going to be a very important one for the narrative design of the game, as the team is contributing two very large elements that will lay the important foundations for developing narrative and the ultimate 1.0 vision. Now, one of those things, I think, is an in-person, full-bodied mission giver that's out in the verse. Now, we sort of have that, I know, but this one exclusively tied to an event. I think that's one of them. I think because that's something CIG has said they wanted to do more of. I would just say that whenever CIG can say that they are implementing foundational work or the groundwork or however they want to say it, that is part of the 1.0 vision, that to me hits really, really hard. Because again, we've brought this up multiple times. Some of you play the game for now, which is fine. And some of you play the game for 1.0. And the difference is the people playing the game for now, you want to play a game now. You want to be stable. You want to have fun. You want to all that stuff. And the people that play for 1.0 are typically the people that are okay with the game being in a shit state as long as progress is being made towards the 1.0 vision, right? Because that's what they want to play. No right or wrong there, by the way. This isn't a right or wrong way to play the game. We all are different. And sometimes people switch. Sometimes people want to play the game right now for the weekend. And then some people really want the 1.0 vision as well. So again, it's just really nice to see this. I'm always happy to read that stuff. AI features in tech. Says here on the animation side, significant work went towards the mass retargeting of male to female combat AI assets with additional support for unconscious and bleeding out behaviors. The devs also made track views for upcoming events. Essentially, they're just going into talking about diversification of the AI that's going to be in the game. So being able to propagate a lot of the work they've already done on the male AI stuff into the female archetype. So nice to see. Again, we'll need that. Animation here. They talk about progress with the Apex Valacar. I'm assuming they're talking about the Apex Valacar that can just sort of pop up anywhere and be emergent. Very similar to what we saw in that presentation a long time ago. I'm assuming that's what that is. The facial animation team processed a significant amount of data from the April performance capture shoot. For any of you that don't know, there's a lot of work that goes into performance capture or motion capture. For example, I've talked before about I have a friend at Rockstar. My friend at Rockstar is really high up in the performance capture division. He sort of oversees that. And it's a lot of work, a lot of technical work. It's a lot of problem solving. There's some crazy stuff they do on that side. So it didn't surprise me that there was a decent amount of work going on there because I had heard that they had done quite a bit of new motion capture stuff. And I assume there will be a lot more coming for the Star Citizen 1.0 vision. They talk about the return of Reco Battaglia. Hopefully I said that right, which is really cool. Mission giver and more motion capture shoots. Again, I think that's going to continue. Okay, let's get to spaceships. One we all know that I love. And for the right reasons. The spaceships in Star Citizen are our keys, our vehicles, not pun fully intended. They are the vehicles to the gameplay. Right? They really are. They are either the things that get us to the gameplay locations or the things that unlock the gameplay for us. So spaceships, very important in this game we all know and love. Says here, May's Defense Console, many of the ship team's recent projects flyable in the PU. That included the Tiburon, the Hammerhead Gold Standard, the M80. I got a really cool M80 mug coming to the merch store soon, by the way. The Misk Starlight, the Drake Pitbull, Ironclad, Ironclad Assault, and Command Module. The team also delivered the Vandal Mauler as part of the Tactical Strike Groups alongside numerous flight blades and weapon kits. Again, so a lot of that information we saw in previous ship progress tracker stuff as mystery ships and stuff. Obviously, a lot of those revealed for DefenseCon. Says here that elsewhere, the Getak Railen passed its gray box review before progressing into Lot 0 with a combined Lot 0 and final gate review scheduled for early June. Significant progress was also made on a related yet unannounced ship, so another Getak ship. Okay, let's talk about this for a minute. And we did get a really cool Getak image, or a Railen image, excuse me. And it's this one here. I love this image. So cool. Okay. I've been saying since beginning of year-ish, probably around January, February, I've been just constantly a little concerned about how close to the wire it seemed like the Railen was going. Like, the ship we knew was coming in for Alien Week, but then they'd be like, oh yeah, the ship's in white box. And I was always like, oof, they got a lot of work to do to get this thing done by June, because the Railen isn't exactly a small ship. It's really not. It's a good, like, it's like a Corsair or Connie size ship. You know what I mean? With all new art styles. So I was pretty concerned. And what this PU monthly report has shown us is that with the Lot 0 final art review being a conjoined review and not two separate gate reviews, those being a conjoined review and those happening at the beginning of June, they're cutting that thing close. I mean, it's coming under the wire. And for some of you, you're out there, you're possibly a little worried about the Railen with the state that the Ironclad launched in, right? There's that concern. Here's what I would say. I'm not overly concerned about the Railen because I don't think it's bringing on any new feature tech like the Ironclad did. I think the new command module feature tech really threw the Ironclad for a loop. So I don't think we're dealing with any of that. The only caveat I would put with that is that from what we know, the Railen is supposed to have some sort of like automatic gravlec technology for the cargo, where cargo is brought down via something like that. The reason I'm not overly concerned with that is I think that could be a mostly automated process. And is not, I don't think that is complicated as what the command module feature tech is. Now, here's the thing. If it launches and whatever that goes flight ready, and then that system that brings cargo down to us is broken, then this would be very similar to the Ironclad, where a key aspect of the ship is broken and thus you can't use the ship. So let's hope it's not. Even if there is a function like that, I still hope CIG allows us to manually pull boxes if that feature was to ever bug out or something. But from the images we've seen of the Railen so far, we got one of the turrets right here. We got one of the primary thrusters on the insides of the nacelles here. And then we got sort of the back of the ship here. You can see one of the turrets over here on the side that we just looked at. And we can see the back here showing some of the texture differentiation and stuff. I'll say this, the Getak is looking like it's coming along really well. I think this is going to be a huge ship sale for them. If you go back to funding stuff in the past, you will know that Alien Week is always, they pull in a decent amount of money, but it's always a little subdued, a little bit more quiet, because they never really have any new ships come online for Alien Week. This is the first time we might have 2 to 3 new ships come out flight ready for Alien Week. So this Alien Week has the potential to be a huge moneymaker. right? We'll have to see, but it has the potential. So yeah, there we go. And they say, so there's an as yet a related but as yet unannounced ship that could be a Railen variant, but maybe it's not called the Railen. Maybe it's sort of the Hammerhead Tiburon thing where it's based off the Railen in a lot of ways, but it's got a few changes, so they call it something different. I've shown you all before that there's some entities in the files that seem to indicate a salvage variant of the Railen. I wouldn't read too much into that, by the way, but there's some information. Let me see. Do I still have that? I don't think I do, but let me check. Let me check if I have that. Oh yeah, right here. You know, this is sort of in those files where we got Gamma Railen. Gamma is just GATAC manufacturer, so don't think of that as a different version. GATAC manufacturer Railen, body, and then there's 2 hard points listed as controller, salvage, tractor left, and controller, salvage, tractor right. Could be nothing. Could absolutely be nothing. I wouldn't read too much into this yet, but it is a little bit of a clue, a little bit of an insight into possibly a Railen variant. Okay.
Now,
I do think. Yeah, go ahead.
Couldn't they just change the tractor sections on those and make those anything else? So they could turn those into miners.
They could
turn
yeah,
those into.
Sure. It's just
repair.
a hard point. Yeah. It's just a hard point. You know, I will say I've seen on other ships though where the tractor beam is, salvage isn't there. So this one seems to specifically be a salvage tractor beam. But this also could be something they decided not to release. I mean, I've seen that too, where something's in the files and then it never gets released. So again, I wouldn't read into this too much, but it is in the files. So take that for what it is. Possible Railen salvage variant. And then we've heard that maybe there's a snub ship coming, a GATAC snub ship. That's a bit another rumor. So, you know, maybe that is something that we will see. Okay. Was there still St. Jude stuff posting? Sorry about that. Okay. Thank you for turning it off. Let's delete those. Okay. Moving along. 4 other upcoming vehicles continued development as well. The first received custom mocap for its enter and exit animations, creating unique challenges due to its scale, and before its gray box review at the end of the month. Again, I think that is specifically going to be for a new manufacturer or a newer manufacturer than because it probably needs a different type of get in, get out animation. So I'm leaning towards Kruger for this one. I'm thinking these could be animations for the Stingray, get in, get out animations. It's possible it could be Gray's Market as well. We know about the Basher, but I think any other of the older manufacturers, I think they would just kind of use the same get in, get out animations they already have programmed. So,
well, I mean, they already talked about the Stinger. It's surmise that it will have 3 modes instead of 2. Mm-hmm. So maybe one of those other modes, it's a little bit more difficult to get in and out of that ship.
Yeah, exactly. And it's hard to read into that, you know, this statement, because that could mean there's a landed formation, a flight formation, and then a combat formation. Who knows what it means? One of those formations could be tied to a landed state and get in, get out custom animation. So yeah, you're exactly right. It says here production on the second kicked off with a small team starting work toward the white box gate planned for the middle of June. So new ships sort of getting kicked off. The third continued down the pipeline while the fourth saw the UK team collaborating with their North American counterparts to ensure the art direction aligns with the brand's other new releases. You know, it's kind of funny, these PU monthly reports that talk about these ships in that way, where they're like, and another one started production and another one went down the pipeline. It's like, it's kind of like non-information in a way. Like I guess it's only valuable to know that, a ship is in production, but you don't really get much more than that. That's okay. But the unique thing here was with this ship here, they say something very specific here. They saw the UK team collaborating with their North American counterparts to ensure the art direction aligns with the Brand's other new releases. Now, this one's interesting. And I don't totally know how to read into this one. Some of you in chat may know the specifics a little better. But the way I see this one is the UK team is working with the North American team because the North American team has done a lot to establish the look of a particular ship or manufacturer, and the UK team wanted to tap into that. Now, it could be reversed. It could be the UK team is collaborating to give guidance to the North American team, but I took it as the former. And when I think about Brand's other new releases, they say releases is plural. So I don't think it's the M80 and Origin because that's a single. I honestly think it's Drake. I think the UK team is either picking up parts of the Kraken, right? And or building another Drake ship, because I've said multiple times, I think we're going to get another Drake ship or two in the lead up to the Kraken. So that could be it. And I think in the past, and chat, you could correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think in the past, the North American team has handled a lot of Drake stuff. Not exclusively, by the way, but they've handled a lot of Drake stuff. By the way, yes, everyone, I've heard that the servers are actually pretty bad right now in game. I think it was Ruben Soros. Shout out Ruben. I think Ruben posted just a short bit ago that the servers were like unplayable. So heads up if you're trying to be productive in game right now.
I know what I'm not doing today now.
Well, you sent me that message at hey, TSG later, and I was thinking,
how about no?
How much punishment? I want nothing more to run a turret or run a fire in TSG. I just, you know what it is? I want my first experience with it to be good.
Smooth.
Because I've been so excited about the TSGs that I've been a little hesitant to even get in Star Citizen until some of the stuff's cleared up. Because I want that first impression to be a positive one, you know. But I also guess I just need to get in there and test shit, you know what I mean? Ruboy619 says he's tired of Drake, honestly. Ruboy, you're banned. You're banned permanently from the I'm just kidding, Ruboy. No, it has been a lot of Drake stuff. It's sort of like RSI. I think it's been the year. It was sort of like the time of RSI. Still kind of is. We're now moving into like the time of Drake, you know, and it was for a while. I actually think the time of Misk is about to start in a big way. So yeah, I get that. Commander Murr, thank you for the stretch. Appreciate it. Next says here, with resources freed up following DefenseCon, pre-production picked up for the Anvil Liberator, with the start of White Box scheduled for the end of the month. As part of this, an update was made to the interior to allow for quicker entry and exit to the landing pads. All right, let's talk about the Liberator for a minute. You know, it's funny. I did not think the Liberator was as popular as it was until this update came out, and everybody in the known universe has messaged me or been in the STARJUMP Discord talking about the Liberator. I obviously underestimated how excited people are for this ship. Now, what does that mean that they're about to start White Box, but that some changes were made to the entry and exit animations to the landing pads? Well, that's that pre-production phase, okay? And from what I can gather with the pre-production phase, just so everyone knows, is, and this is based off the jump point issue that gave us an update to the Kraken. What I think that pre-production phase is I think the concept artists open the concept mesh again. So that sort of old concept mesh, and I think they monkey around with it. They throw doors in certain areas. They say, oh, we need an entry here. We need a thing here. We need that there. We saw that exact work on the Kraken being done in that jump point issue, where they took the concept mesh and they put some different stuff on it, right? That meaning that it hasn't moved into like the actual ship production team yet. And that's where I think those exit enter animations are happening. I do think that's a really good thing. I'll swing over to Fleet Viewer really quick here and add the Liberator. I can tell you where I think those things are happening. And what I think is happening with that is I think that doors have been put on the insides of these areas to give direct access to those ramps, probably down here as well, because the current hollow model didn't have anything like that, not even like a sense of that. Now there is one here. There is one here, but it really needed multiples. So I think what they've done is smooth out the flow of the ship. If you remember, they did a lot of that type of work on the Ironclad. Okay. And I will say this about the Ironclad. Many of you know I'm a big fan of it. Problems aside, the interior flow of the ship, after the initial, like, I'm lost feeling, now I can get around that ship really, really well. And I like the multiple traversal paths to certain areas. I think the Liberator is going to get that same sort of work. So yeah, people are very excited about this one. Obviously, the big question now that it's going into production or white box is, when is the Liberator releasing? And I'll tell you when I think it's going to release him, or when it's going to release, if I can talk correctly. I would put this at 90%, everyone. I'm going to give you a 90% prediction because no one's perfect. The Liberator is going to release at DefenseCon 2027. Yes, it will release at the same time the Drake Kraken releases. Yes. Based off where it's at in production, just leaving pre-production, going into white box, the fact that it's a large anvil ship, so they're going to sort of be expanding the kit. Very same process the Ironclad had, where the Ironclad expanded the Drake kit. The anvil ship is going to be used to expand or the Liberator is going to expand the anvil kit, just like the Polaris expanded the RSI kit. Okay, so the ship is going to take the time it needs, but I predict DefenseCon next year. We know, first off, we know that they're okay releasing non-Drake ships at DefenseCon. We got the Tiburon, we got the Starlight. But yes, based off the speed of work on these other ships, there's no reason that the Liberator can't release at DefenseCon next year. I know some people are saying IAE 2027. I would say that means they're going to spend longer on the Liberator than they would ships like, some of the more recent ships we got, like the Perseus and stuff, and the Galaxy. Technically, the Liberator they would have spent longer on. I actually look at the Liberator as a simpler ship than those, personally, especially the Galaxy. I look at the Liberator as a simpler ship for them to create. With the caveat that they do need to establish the anvil assets, but they have been putting a lot of work into that with ships like the Asgard, what's that other one, the new one, the Paladin, right? There's been work that have happened there. So, but yes, everyone remember it. Clip this if you want. Anvil Liberator, DefenseCon next year. They're going to theme DefenseCon around carriers of the verse. We're going to get the Kraken. A lot of people have asked me, by the way, they go, you really think the Liberator would launch alongside the Kraken? Absolutely. They're a lot of people compare these ships, and I don't think you should. They play in completely different regimes. I'll go back to Fleet Viewer really quick, and I'll load the Kraken. And here's the thing: these two regimes are totally fine for these ships to play in. Okay. Yeah, just take a look at that image here, everyone. We're dealing with two different things here. Okay, the Liberator is designed around carrying small ships. The Kraken is designed around carrying two medium ships and a bunch of small ships. So very different price points as well. Kraken probably going to go flight ready around 2,000, 2,100, something like that. Liberator probably going to go, what's the Liberator war bond? I don't know. Chat, help me out. But the Liberator probably going to be in that Tiburon price regime, right? Whatever that is, 600, 650, something like that. Very different price scales here. The Liberator is a large ship at about 119 meters. Kraken is a capital at 260. So again, yes, I think they can release both of these at the same event. They play in very different price categories. Kraken's going to be hull limited, Liberator's not. So yeah, I don't think that's an issue at all. Mark my words, DefenseCom. Okay. Lastly, on the UK side, the RSI Galaxy continued through white box as further revisions were made to the layout around the central docking collar, habs, bridge, and lift area to ensure clear flow from any direction. Now, again, going off of our Liberator chat, the Galaxy in white box now, planning to release at IAE in November, we think with 3 modules. Maybe it only releases with its cargo module for all we know, but it's supposed to release with 3. This is the first Galaxy update we've got in a while. It's kind of been in white box mode for about 6 months now, right? But remember, something very, very important here for those of you concerned about the Galaxy. We saw this with Drake, with the Ironclad. And we've seen it with other RSI ships, namely the Perseus. They stay in white box for a long ass time now, and then they go through gray box really quickly. Okay. And it used to sort of be the other way around. But why is that happening? That is because of the manufacturer kits. That is because of the manufacturer kits that CIG has. And those kits they're using in the white box phase. So in a sense, not completely, but in a sense, some of the gray box work is getting done and the final artwork is getting done in the white box phase because they're using the kit elements, right? Some of it. And it's obviously affected ship production in a huge, huge way. Whiskey Guy Games, good morning. So if it's concerning to you that the Galaxy is still in white box, it's actually tracking along pretty well. Pretty well. They do get a lot of work to do, but that kind of shows you the timeline, okay, for the Liberator, okay? Take a step back. Galaxy kind of went into white box, I think, what was it, in January, beginning of the year? It spent about 6 months in white box, and then 6 months going through, or about 5 months then going through gray box, lot 0, final art, downstream teams to release at IAE. You can put that same timeline on the Liberator. Liberator and Galaxy, by the way, are the same size ships, both around 120-ish meters. Okay, so both large ships. So if you take the Liberator, it spends 6 months in white box. So from now till about December, and then the first 6 months of next year, it goes into gray box, downstream, lot 0, final art, all that, releases during DefenseCon. It does line up. Does totally line up. But it's good to get a Galaxy update. I think a lot of people were wondering if it was still even happening. A lot of excitement for that ship. That is going to be, for as focused as the Perseus was on that combat role and how popular it was, the Galaxy is going to be that for the generalist player, the industrial player. Very popular. As mentioned above, the North American team progressed on an unannounced ship, which passed its gray box gate review, so going pretty far. With flying colors following this, the Lot 0 phase began with the ship coming together following a preliminary lighting pass. We'll have to see what that is. Don't really tell us anything. And then the big update, everyone. Finally, the Drake Kraken continued through its gray box phase with further changes to the hero rooms to utilize more of the Drake kit used in the Ironclad. This will save both production time and increase optimization of this huge ship. Now remember, that is such a great thing for them to say at this point too, is that they are already thinking about optimization. And that goes everything from model complexity, optimized elements, viz area work, any lighting stuff, all that is part of the same equation, and whatever they have to do to make sure the Kraken is a well optimized ship is good to hear. So I'm appreciative of that. We did get a new image with this one as well, which I will throw up here. Obviously what we are seeing here is the very front of the Kraken on the starboard side of the ship. A couple of interesting, obviously this has gotten us a pretty big detail pass from the last time we've seen it. We've got elements of color, striping here. We've got some decals being applied. We've got some areas of the ship are really being greebled out nicely. A couple interesting things to note on this one is down here, you can see what looks to be possibly a manned turret. You can see like a big something down here. We can't tell if that's remote or manned, but it looks possibly like a manned something or rather. And then a turret. Can't really tell how big those are, but if I had to guess, I'm putting it as the same size as the one that's on the forward nose. So I'm saying dual size 7s. Dual size 7 turret up there, which would be nice. It wasn't originally spec to have those. A couple other little things. They seem to have put these like protruding antenna greeble that wasn't on the original one, so that's kind of interesting. Another big thing they did was on the this sort of antenna array that sticks out of the front of the ship. They actually stuck a PDT there. So sort of our first official image of a PDT. We saw some early pre-production work with PDTs there, but showing that they are not taking defense of this ship lightly. Also great to see. Again, the Kraken does have a number of blind spots in its original concept. So it's nice that they're filling that out. If their intent is for this ship to play such an important role for future fleet operations as that sort of repair, rearm, refuel rally point, in the rear or whatever. So that is nice to see. Now, it is a carrier, but remember the original description. It's been called a light carrier or an attack carrier or a light attack carrier. CIG has called it all three of those things at different parts of the other. Now, a couple other notes about this. We saw this antenna array here previously, right here. And before we did not see the PDT on it. The PDT is now located where this little warning marker is. But again, it looks like we're going to see them fill this out even more. Even the front of the ship looks like it has received significant upgrades. So obviously they are working on this pretty intently. This is the fourth Kraken work in progress image we've received. First one was this one right here. Second one was this one, which gave us a shot of the landing gears and just sort of reinforced the overall scale of the ship. The third one was this here. This is from inside the Kraken engineering room. And if you're wondering if I'm sure on that, you can kind of see here these little like display panels. That is something that is, if I go to where is it? If I go to Kraken, you can see that exact area of the ship down here. I'll find it. There, it's that room. Those are the panels right there. That's what you're seeing. So those panels there are these panels. So that was the third Kraken sneak peek, and then obviously the fourth one we got right here. Again, one crazy thing about this image when you're just sort of analyzing it is how high off the ground we are in that shot. Again, reinforcing just how monstrous this thing's going to be. Another thing I noticed was VTOL thruster here. It is in VTOL mode, so I pointed up. Normally these will turn and rotate forward. It has two on these, one on this side, one on the other, and then two on the nacelles, and then several more in the back. The ship has also a lot of permanently built-in VTOL thrusters on the bottom side, so quite a few. But yeah, coming along really nicely. Very excited to see that and get those further updates. I hope the Kraken personally is one of those ships that they keep us updated through its development, which they seem to be doing, which is great. Moving off of this, they talk a little bit back here about the team progressing with a new large caliber weapon currently in gray box. I think what they're talking about, and now I mean it could be wrong, but I think what they're talking about is this bad boy, the minigun, right? This minigun by Apocalypse Arms is part of that sort of new super heavy combat suit that they've been talking about, which is right here. You can see an image of it. It looks pretty cool. I do have a couple criticisms of it. Here's the back, which has the ammo things. You get the little armatures, sort of like a little bit of an exoskeleton sort of vibe to this. I like a lot about this suit, or I don't know what you think. The only thing I don't love, I actually just don't love the boots. That's the one thing that look a
That's
little
not what
dumpy.
you said. No, that's not what you said last time. Go ahead and say it. Come on.
Well, the apron is not my favorite, but
the groin flap, yeah.
But the groin flap has grown on me a little bit. I'm okay with the groin flap now because now the boots are affecting my brain.
They look like elephant feet.
Yeah. Now someone in chat said someone in chat says very 40K. Yeah, it's got that vibe for sure. For sure. So obviously I think the idea with this one is that you're rocking up like this, right? You're coming to the party like this. And the real question is, A, is this going to be sold as part of a monthly bundle? And B, or is this just going to be something that you have to hunt through blueprints?
Both.
I think both. There was recently stated, someone asked if the crossbow was ever going to be available in other means other than blueprints. CIG did say they had a color variant that they did not ever offer for the crossbow, so that it could come to a monthly bundle at one time. It's very possible it will. I could see this coming, but here's the question, Art. If this comes out as a monthly bundle, okay, if this one does, what ship should they pair it with, as in terms of the paint livery? Because it's got to come with a ship livery, and that's the question: is which ship would this pair nicely with?
I think it would pair nicely with the Perseus. I think calling it heavy hitters, or feeding into, or you could even pair it with the Tiburon and call it new age of weaponry or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that. I almost wonder if
Theo says the mule.
It could be. Yeah, that'd be interesting. What do you all think in chat? Where do you think? Meat says the Asgard. That could be another one. I don't know if we've gotten an Asgard patch bundle yet. Maybe not, but I could see it going with the Asgard. I love the Asgard. Iron Chad, Cody Fox says, yeah, it could. It's got to be an existing ship that's flight ready, everyone, because it would come with the paint, not the ship. So it would come with a special livery, probably, unless they sold this as a monthly bundle as is. You know what I mean? Now, in terms of limitations for this, I personally don't think you're going to be able to run in this suit. I think it's going to be a walking only suit.
It's gonna be worse than carrying a boom tube and a pulverizer.
Yeah,
you're just gonna be crawling.
And you may have other limitations. You may not be able to crouch. You may not be. There could be other things you're not able to do with this. So we'll see. I am very curious to see like what this gets paired with. From a ship standpoint, I think that'll be really, really interesting. It does look cool. If it does come to the game, I think it's going to, or when it comes to the game, I'm starting to wonder if it's going to come in like the crossbow, where they come in via blueprint first, and then over time, maybe the next month or something, they'll release it as an actual monthly bundle. We'll have to see. Let me close a few of these here. Go back to our thing.
Do you think they're going to add more heavy weapons to this heavy armored? Because I would love to see a kind of like a shoulder fired anti-air element to that. So like a missile pod that you would put on its shoulder. Mm-hmm. So, and then you couldn't carry, cool. Wouldn't be able to carry any guns or anything like that, but just like an AA platform with a couple missiles on it.
Yeah. Or could you imagine like the Volt version of this that comes with like a big ass Volt gun or something like that?
Oh yeah.
They could really go somewhere with this. Someone did ask me if these are supposed to be the Titan suits. I don't think they are. The Titan suits are, from what I can gather, they are more of a full-on mech suit. Not like Mech Warrior style, but like more like, trying to think of a reference. I I forget. Either way, I think it's more of a more fully encapsulated mech suit, meaning it's got
It's like exoskeleton more than the ATLS.
And I think it's got its own atmosphere. I think you're going to be able to EVA in Titan suits. So think of it more like that. The only thing I've heard in regards to the Titan suit stuff is I've heard that there is a spoiler alert. If you don't want any Squadron spoilers, cover your ear holes. If you don't want any Squadron spoilers. This isn't a spoiler. It's a speculated spoiler. But I've heard there's a boss fight in Squadron 42 where the boss you fight is wearing a full-on Titan suit. And it's like pretty gnarly. So I do think Titan suits or a Titan suit exists. They built it. I think it's in Squadron. I just don't think it's been like worked on for the PU yet. Okay. But yes, obviously a big community update here. I won't spend too much time on there. We do know that CIG, and we'll talk about this here in a minute when we get to the state of Star Citizen. Though there was a little bit of a little bit of drama associated with recent Bar Citizen. We'll get to that. Economy. Let's go ahead and talk about this. Anything of note? There's one economy thing. I'm not going to focus on it here, but or focus on the ones they wrote up. But I'm going to go ahead and bring up this one because I think it's important. And we got a first little bits of news that said that UEC trading appears to be limited to just under 1 million UEC per transaction, and you can only do 5 of those a day. There was some further information about this in posts, essentially saying here that they're replacing the player AUEC trade flow with an authorization ticket model that will require both parties to consent to the trade before it completes. The receiving player will receive a notification alert when the AUEC is sent, prompting them to accept or deny. The sender will then have a pending message. If not accepted in time by the receiver, the transaction will cancel. This is all very good. And they talk about hangar collision. But let's go back to this this 1 million transaction thing. And another person chimed in here saying that they tested it and they were able to send 995,024 to a court mate since the fee is included within the limit. All right. What are my opinions on this? My opinions on this are as follows. I do not like it. I personally hope this is just a temporary thing for the moment. As Spicy says they rolled back the cap already. Spicy, what did they roll it back to? I haven't seen that news. But where I'm going with this is, it's been disabled already, Super Shoe says. Okay, great. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, I think they heard Salty Mike sent 9 million today. Okay, good. I'll go ahead and push on this a little bit though still, as I would say that I hope CIG doesn't bring anything into the game like that. I know the intent is to stop AUEC selling. CIG just talked about this recently, the selling of AUEC and stuff. Let me give my unpopular opinion on that, okay? You're never going to solve it. You're never going to solve it, and here's why. Because people can do it nefariously, and they can also do it completely within the confines of the game. There's nothing preventing me from, for example, there's nothing preventing me from going up, getting a bunch of AUEC or UEC, and then selling that in-game for not cash money, but selling it for trade. Right? Again, that's a transaction, but it's still using the same mechanic, right? I'm giving you money for a thing, right? Any of you that have played WoW know that that's how a lot of times transactions work. If you buy gold, they will tell you, go to the auction house, list a stupid item like a gray item, like a twig, on the auction house for 5 million gold, knowing no one's going to buy it. But then the gold seller will buy the gray item from you for 5 million gold. There's nothing technically wrong with that transaction happening within the confines of the game. So for me, there is no way around it. There's no way around it. It's something in many ways CIG has to, the only thing they can really do is mitigate it with in-game gold sinks, right? And they've got to be careful of that because you can't gold sink the hell out of everything to the point where the people not buying gold can't afford anything, right? So it is a balance, but tons of games, as Commander Ketchup says there, tons of games have tried this shit and it never ultimately works.
Well, I mean, here's the thing: is like there's always going to be a market out there. If there was
Always.
no market, then we wouldn't have to worry about it. But there's always a market for it because, again, you have, and I think you've said this before, if you have the money to spend and you want to spend it, you don't care.
Yeah. I mean, technically the same can be said for ships or anything else,
If you have as long as it is not, unbalancing the game, but the game's always been unbalanced to a degree in some form or fashion. There's always been those that have had more than others. I mean, when we just had a full wipe, we had people that bought UEC before they took it off the thing, and they are much better off than me with my 100K.
Yeah,
starting out, or 500K, or we had guys that were starting out with like 2 or 3 mil.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. Another way to mitigate the effects that gold selling can have on the economy is just make some things not purchasable by gold alone. Gold can be, or gold, UEC or UEC. That can be one factor to purchasing them. But when reputation comes online in a big way, and I know we have info runners, I know we have reputation now. I was reading the chat as I was trying to talk. I know we have reputation now, but I really look at the reputation we have now as like a crappy version of it, a temporary version of it. When we truly have reputation, that will be another massive gatekeeper to your access to something, even if you have the UEC. As a matter of fact, the UEC sync will be the lesser of the issues you have to deal with. Personally, because I think we're going to, in the future of this game too, if you're in a big org, you might just say, hey, guys, I want to buy this thing. It costs 2 million UEC. I only have 500,000. There's going to be org or guild mates or whatever that just sends you the money. There's going to be orgs that are so wealthy in this game that they can float $1 million to a player, to one of their members with no issue. So it's going to come down to reputation. That's going to be one of the big things. By the way, calling out a few follows. Eberaz, The Camping Turret, Lord Calendor, Robin Blitz, Shinjiao, appreciate those follows. Janik NT, Fletch Voice. Are you a fan of Fletch movies? I am. Oakflow, TR Emperor of Mankind. Damn, that's a name. Throbby Robbie. It's also a hell of a name. Thank you very much for that, everyone. I do appreciate the follows. Tom Gates, thank you as well. I do appreciate the follows, the support, everyone. You're all amazing. We are up to 9,097 followers. 3 more followers, and we tick over to 9,100. That's incredible, everyone. Over on Twitch, that is incredible. And on the YouTube side of things, we're at 17,400 subscribers. Please send the channel to your friend. Part of the change is coming to STARJUMP very soon is going to be more pre-recorded old school STARJUMP content coming back. That is something I'm working on. There's been changes to my pipeline that make it actually easier to do. Okay. Okay. Trucking along. So economy changes. There was some graphics changes. These are almost always stuff I kind of just, they're always kind of the same stuff. They work on gas clouds. They work on Planet Tech, obviously work with Genesis and stuff like that.
Sent you DM.
Okay. I'll read it in just one second. Yeah. So obviously the big news with this one being the Genesis Planet Tech. That is pretty huge. And then they're obviously working alongside Global Illumination System. Again, it'd be nice to see when that moves over from Squadron into Star Citizen. I still think it's going to be quite a while for that one. We did get a little bit of a hint, though, that the first Genesis planet, Nyx, could be coming around that September timeline, which could be really cool. Let's see here. Mission design and narrative. Obviously, they're working on missions and stuff. Not going to focus too much there. Online technology. They talk about continuing work on item recovery for 4.8 and improvements coming to the future. That seems to be a focus for them right now. Working on the contract system. They did bring up that there's a contract limitation 2-star citizen right now that's intended, and that when better backend comes in for the contract system, that'll be up. So that's nice to see. But currently there's a contract acceptance limit. And then I think that was most of like the more interesting work from online technology. And then R&D, as always, they're talking about the gas cloud work. I do like to see that they've never really sort of given up on gas cloud work. It's something that when they first implemented it into the game, and even before that, pretty much consistently after, they've been continuing to work on it. The only thing I can pull from that, and the gas clouds and atmospheres and clouds and all this stuff has gotten better. I think they know that they can make them look even more polished. But I also think it maybe hints at further environmental stuff CIG wants to do, especially regarding Genesis planets and dynamic weather. I think they really want to get us to a place where, for example, certain times a day, a planet may have a shit ton of fog on it. You know what I mean? Like where you almost can't see enough to fly your ship safely, or things like that. You know, if you're flying low level and stuff like that. Oh, that'd be some daring low level flight stuff there. But I think CIG has big plans for atmospherics and volumetrics related to Genesis and Planet Tech V5. So,
can you imagine an actual dogfight in a hurricane?
That'd be so cool. I mean, I go back and watch that one CitizenCon presentation of the Genesis Planet stuff, and I'm still amazed. You know what I mean? I saw on your show Execute the other day, you were talking to Lemming, and Lemming said something I thought was kind of interesting, and I totally agree with you on this. He talked about that he was glad that Squadron 42 didn't get shown at the Summer Games Fest because of all the great trailers and stuff they showed there. And I got to tell you that, and you said something like, well, go back and watch the gameplay prologue, but the same can be said for going back and watching like their Genesis Planet demo and stuff. It still looks really good, like on par with the best AAA games I've seen. Now, they need to get it in game and working, but, you know, it looks good.
Well, you know, I've been a bit down lately, so I basically just went back and refreshed myself, and that's kind of what I do when I get, you know, a bit down. I go back and go, right, like, I got to focus on the good shit. And yeah. I mean, you go back and look at some of that stuff though, and there's some really impressive stuff that is that CIG has. And again, everything we've seen of Squadron, from vertical slices to the prologue gameplay, look AAA, look on par with anything I'm out there seeing from some of the best developers. And at a scale I don't think a lot of developers can do. Now, playing devil's advocate here, CIG still needs to deliver it 100%. To be fair, there's a lot of other game studios that have shown stuff in the past, promised things that they didn't deliver on ultimately. So I don't want to put my faith solely in stuff that has been showed to us and curated to us, but hopes are high. I'm not worried about Squadron 42 appealing to people, by the way. I do think people are always game for a big single-player space opera combined arms game. I don't think that's going to be an issue. Is it going to appeal as much as GTA 6? No, because GTA 6 GTA 6 is, in my opinion, is not even in the realm of video games anymore. It's a pop culture icon. I've said this on a previous stream. The movie industry that I work in, they get out of the way of GTA. They want nothing to do with it. There are people that don't like GTA. There is no game or movie that is for everyone. That is just scientific fact.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, when it comes to you know, the appeal of Squadron, CIG has a lot going for them with it. They just need to market it the right way. So,
well, just you know, I talked on my stream
still. Oh, it's technically yesterday. So yeah, yesterday. About all the celebrities in it.
Yeah.
America has a massive celebrity culture. It's not a thing all around the world, but you'll hear people say, I'm a fan of Tom Cruise, so I'm going to go see Tom Cruise's latest movie. And you put as many actors that, like, I don't think I've seen as many actors as there is here in a single video game.
I don't think so either. And really leaning into them as a role. And what I mean by that is like, oh, okay, sure, you might sometimes get a famous actor, but it's really just their voice, but they're in like a suit of armor or something. With Squadron, they put a lot of work in getting those actors' faces and stuff. So I put it more on par with something like a Hideo Kojima game or something where they, where he's really trying to bring that actor into the game. So that's going to be kind of cool. You know what I mean?
And also they are essentially trying to clone the campaign of Half-Life 2 or Titanfall 2. And they're two of the best FPS campaigns that I've ever played. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think a lot of people do try to clone them because they're too difficult to match up to. Yeah. But if they're even trying to get near there, that means they're striving for some of the best games I've ever played.
And I think if we bring in this next thing here, which is, I haven't read through this, so we're going to do it together, everybody. But this data mined here, data mine / internal Squadron 42 on Microsoft, PlayStation, Steam, and Epic platforms. Says here, to keep the internal bit brief, there's been confirmation from a few folks over the years, including recently CIG's in possession of console dev kits, not surprising, a lot of game studios are, as well as previously reported on rumors that a third-party development studio was at one point working on a PS5 Xbox Series console port. These ports were reportedly developed for cross-platform launches alongside the PC version of Squadron 42. As for data mines, various strings have popped up implying achievement work for consoles as well as Steam Epic platforms. More recently, Squadron 42 website had strings related to notifications for various platforms, these being PlayStation, Microsoft, Steam, and Epic. These were removed in the most recent website maintenance. So here's what go ahead.
I just say from the information I have, that is not correct. It's PC and PC only at the beginning.
Yeah, and and here's my thoughts on that. To me, I think that might be a smarter way to deliver it anyway. PC first, follow it up 6 months later or whatever with the console version, right? Or even a year later. Here's why I think that would be good. The console market, I think, is a lot more focused on a game and its performance being sort of, barely any bugs in it. They're really important on that. I always go back and watch like Cyberpunk reviews and stuff on how they would judge the console versions differently. You release it on PC, let us poor saps play the version that's going to have problems and get patched.
Yep.
That way your console version is the version that releases 6 months later with all those patches already included, and it's a much better experience for those players. Here's the thing. If that's the plan, then of course you are going to see those entities pop up on the website and stuff like that, because of course they're already thinking about that. So
just to add to that, for anyone that's already in the know, I can't remember the money amount. I think it's like $45,000 every time you want to patch your game. It's got to be verified by Sony and Microsoft, and they charge $45,000 each every patch. So everything you're saying excuse me, makes sense.
Yeah. I wish the Apple App Store did that so that my apps wouldn't have a new update every 45 minutes. That's the issue. Apple needs to charge about $1,000 for app updates because, oh my God, every time I check my phone updates, every app I have needs to be updated.
There's a simple fix for that. Get rid of your crapple phone and get an Android.
That's true. That is true.
Like a normal adult.
Yeah, there's a reason I have an Apple phone because I do not actually.
It's because they communicate with all other Apple things.
No, the funny thing is, I hate Apple products. I don't have an Apple computer, don't have an Apple laptop, and I used to be a diehard Apple dude back in the day. I have one specific thing that ties into my phone that requires me to use Apple. But all right,
get next a second phone.
Yeah, that's true. Next thing I want to talk about is Star Citizen and Squadron 42 fatigue, right? This has been something talked about a little bit lately. For those of you know that Foxy Loxy released a video
I'll link it here if you want to check it out, just to make sure we're not showing his content without linking to it. But he essentially put out a video called Star Citizen Project and the Great Disillusionment. A lot of people have referenced this video over the last day. And the funny thing about it is, I always think it's interesting when these videos get a lot of traction, because lots of people talk about this all the time for years.
Yep.
I do think it always hits differently, though, when it's a content creator who is genuinely like excited about Star Citizen in their videos, right? And then when they release that video that is not, it always catches a bunch of news, right?
I've seen it all the time. A content creator comes in fresh and hot, and they run for a year or two, and then they burn out. I've seen it so many times.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest, I'm kind of in a burnout phase myself. But
well,
as I said, I have ways of working through it.
In my show notes for this, I have Foxy Loxy video, which I'm talking about now. And then the next point underneath that is execute and other creators also feeling fatigue. And so I think it's good you're here. Here's what I would say. I'll give my point, because I've had a few people, whenever stuff like this Foxy Loxy video come out, people message me and say, hey, have you seen this video? What are your thoughts, Grim? And I'll tell you, I've had my down states with Star Citizen. But what I do is when I get to those points, I pull out and play another game. I focus on another game. I may still do my content, but my content may slow up a bit. But I do. I have to focus on other things at the appropriate times. But even for me, I don't think it's ever to the point where I'm sort of publicly declaring my frustration. And I think for me, one of the things I've just always been really good at, and from a personality standpoint, is I've just been part of so many projects that went down the crapper that should have been successful or had everything going for them in the world, tons of money, tons of talent, tons of this, tons of that, and they still fail. For me, I still look at Star Citizen as a experiment. I literally call it that in a lot of my conversations with people. I call it an experiment, and one that may fail. Every ship I've bought, especially the big ones like the Kraken or Pioneer or something, before I bought it, I reminded myself of that very thing. I said, this is an experiment. This ship may never come. This game may never get released. CIG could get sold, could go bankrupt. I don't know what else. I've approached it like that at every time. I've had so many patches that were kind of unplayable to me, but the way I get around that is, and again, I've talked about this multiple times, you can play the game for now or play the game for 1.0. I love the people that can play the game for now. I know, Art, you play the game a lot for now. And for 1.0, but I know you do a lot of gameplay now, and that is killer. I like the people that can do that. I am one of those people that is just firmly cemented in the I play for the 1.0 game. Remember that Richard Tyrer presentation on Star Citizen 1.0? That is the only thing I want and care about. Everything else is secondary to me.
Grim, just real quick, can you bring up a picture I just sent you? I found a behind-the-scenes photo that I think people should see.
Oh, yeah, let me bring this up because this is this is important. Yeah, that's what you don't see. Art's got a filter on right now, but that's what he really is rocking behind the scenes.
All right, hold on. I'm booking a trip to Australia. 1 minute.
Fucking send me kitty cat pictures, bitch.
Listen, I thought that was so.
I'm not taking that shit lying down.
Well, but yeah, so I'm firmly one of those people that plays for Star Citizen 1.0. What does that ultimately mean? For me, and for me personally, I'm not saying this is the right way to look at the project or anything. This is just how I look at it. I am actually okay with the game being damn near broken, as long as, and I'm going to go back to the PU monthly report. I'm going to go to the very first paragraph again. We're going to reference that very first paragraph. I am fine with the game being broken as long as every bit of work they are doing, just like this note here on AI content, is for the development of the ultimate 1.0 vision. If the work happening is for 1.0, I'm okay with a broken game. If they're doing work for now, like if they're just making a bunch of content for now and the game's still broken, that's not cool for me. Because now you're not getting anything. You're not getting the now, you're not getting the later, you're not getting anything. So for me, that's sort of how I view the project. Viewing the project that way has allowed me to never really get myself into a big down state negative on the game. Now, there's been patches I've not liked or decisions I've not liked, but generally I still look at the project the same way I looked at it in 2020 or in 2018 or whatever. It's an experiment.
Yeah.
I hope it releases. Could Star Citizen 1.0 never come? Sure, it could never come. I still look at most of the ships in the game as concept ships, even the flight ready ones, because they're missing so much shit.
It's becoming really clear to me they're in an uber crunch period. Like,
Yeah.
Right before the end, I know there's a lot of people that think it might release next year, and it may still do that because it's not going to be ready. But I think they are legitimately trying to get it out this year, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And it's kind of heads down, asses up. And I'm going to be honest with you, I think the issues we're seeing on Star Citizen is because some core talent are actually overworking on Squadron.
I agree. Fully agree. Yeah. Yeah, 100% agree. By the way, everyone, we did hit our follower goal. 9,100 people are now following over on Twitch. Had a couple more. The Camping Turret, Eberaz, Wakefield, Perry Park, Barmelad, Dive Medic, and Honcho. Thank you for those follows. Do appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, it's, Star Citizen Squadron fatigue and what I watched Foxy's video. I love Foxy Loxy's videos, by the way. Let me go ahead and put that out there. I don't know him. I'd like to meet. I'd like to have him as a guest one day, maybe, or something. I don't know him, but when I watched the video, I looked at it more like Foxy was shard locked. It put him in a salty mood. That salty mood manifested in kind of a vent session, which was that video, which was him venting about the project as a whole. And I think that fire was started because of being shard locked. Now, let me be very clear. That's not discounting his vent session. He's totally allowed to do that venting, and I could see myself getting into a situation like that. But as soon as the problem was solved, and he did have some CIG people contact him to get that solved and solve other people that were shard locked, his tone has shifted a little bit now back to being excited. And I think that's
rage is what you're implying.
Well, I just think that people sort of sometimes it's content creators, sometimes it's the regular player. I think that there's people too that just sort of wear their feelings on their sleeve when it comes to the moment. And sure, if you're shard locked out of a game, you absolutely can't play, and it's a game you cover as part of your content. I can see how that puts you in a mood, and you want to vent about it. You want to put that vent. And here's the thing, from creators like Foxy, who do so much to champion and put excitement to the game, because I do think he does that into the community. I think that does catch CIG's attention from time to time. And as long as it's not entitlement or streamer privilege or anything like that, if that gets CIG's eyes on something, that's a net good thing for the player base. And I say that, by the way, everyone, as someone that I don't think streamers or content creators should get any privilege whatsoever, and I don't think they get any. I'll be totally honest with you. If there was such thing as streamer privilege, I would have an Odin in my hanger right now, but I don't. But
it's in his other hanger. I know that.
Yeah, it's up my ass. Is where it's at. Sorry, my ass. So yeah,
it's under his beard. That's why he never takes it off. It's Odin. I mean.
But yeah, no, I can tell you look, it may be different for other creators out there that have really, really close CIG ties and have been part of the game for 300 years or whatever. I can tell you from me personally, not only do I not get anything like streamer, like CIG will send ships to give away to the community, but I can't keep any of those. They're giveaway ships. They're even labeled in the hangar as giveaway, and they have no value to them. But where I'm saying is, besides those, like CIG's not giving me free shit. I mean, and here's the thing, I wouldn't want them to. I wouldn't want them to, even if they did. Someone asked me like, "Oh, Graham, you should be able to at least get a chance to get an Odin." I was like, "Yeah, but I don't want anything. I'll get my chance at some point."
I'm the same.
You know what I mean?
I'm the same.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and I knew you were the same. XQ. I'm just like, I want to be one of the players. You know what I mean?
To me, if I was going to say anything from my point of view where I'd want it to be fair, would be that an Australian has as big a chance of getting a ship as an American, and that's a different. That's
that's a whole. Yeah, that's a tech issue, and that is something I think CIG does need to solve. Again, that goes back to the whole F5 war thing. We've talked a lot about that. I think there needs to be a different path for that to give more fairness to some of those countries and players that just the latency and stuff is a problem. That being said, though, I think that it is totally okay to have ups and downs with this project. This project is like it really is like a marriage for us backers and these games and this company. There's good times, there's bad times. That is going to happen. It just is going to happen. And here's the thing. We're going to have more bad patches. Okay? We've had them before, and we're going to have them in the future. I can promise you, when base building comes out, when Maelstrom drops, I'm sure there's going to be some bad, rough patches in there. When dynamic server meshing comes online, another piece of core tech, very possible we could have some bad patch. That's going to happen. So it really comes down to how do you deal with it. One good way I could say to deal with it, for example, is if you're in a Star Citizen org or something like that, with a lot of other players, just having a sense of community that you can vent to or talk constructively about the game when it's not playable can be very helpful. Can be very helpful for keeping you excited about the project without suffering the gameplay. Sorry, go ahead.
This is why Grim's daughter gets really pissed at him because he vents at her. Anyway.
Are you dying? Are you okay back here? I hear you like breathing hard.
Oh, I've got asthma problems. Just asthma. It's all good.
Oh, okay. Don't die on stream. It's a bad look.
He could die on stream.
Leave the stream before you die. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be. My other thing is this and I've had several people kind of post it in chat a little bit, was, and there was one part in there that I didn't particularly like, was, Foxy said, I'm the highest concierge and I didn't get anything. And I think should people that pay more, should they get a faster response? What's your thought on that?
No. Because that's entitlement. That's literally entitlement. The very definition of I deserve something because I funded the game more. If I told you about some of the stuff I've heard that went on during the tours in LA, you would be disgusted. The shit I have heard, that people turned up and is like, I've donated $10,000 to this game, so I deserve something. And that, like, to the things that they were stealing things from the studio, treating staff like shit, all this type of stuff. And they stopped doing tours because of how entitled some of the people were.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think any sort of money amount that you've spent should unlock anything for you. I don't put that all on the player base, though. There's a little bit of responsibility I think CIG needs to take for that, and specifically it has to do with their communication around the concierge program. They have a concierge ticket system. They have a concierge spectrum destination. They've talked in the past about things that are coming for concierge. I think CIG either needs to come out with a more blanket statement, especially as we get closer to the 1.0 squadron release stuff, where they just say, hey, look, we appreciate all of our concierge people. You're going to get first access to limited hull shell waves and stuff. Like, you'll get access to the first 3 waves, and then it opens up to the rest of the people for the rest of the waves. But that's it. And that's all that's how we recognize you. Oh, and you get a Spectrum badge or whatever it is, and just sort of state it, because one of the number one things you will see in the Spectrum forums, which is why I don't even go, or the concierge forums on Spectrum, which is why I don't go there anymore. The number one threads are always like, I'm concierge. Why don't we have this yet? Why aren't we getting this? Why did my concierge ticket not get, all this stuff around that and expectations, right?
It's real simple. They need tools to do that, and they're putting those people on Squadron. It's just that simple.
Yeah, and also the argument of, does there need to be any concierge expectations? Like, should they just flat out say, look, moving forward, concierge is just going to be, you get first sail wave access, but or maybe you get a 5% discount on new ships, but that's it. Then we're even now. I don't know.
That are pretty unique. Again, the sense of entitlement to me is crazy. Like it is a video game. You do not have to donate a heap of money. If you do, good on you for supporting the game. But that's what you get. Yeah. You supported the game.
Yeah.
That's it. It doesn't entitle you to anything else.
The other thing I want to bring up about the Star Citizen Squadron 42 fatigue that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about, but I do see it as a thing because I've noticed it over the past few years. And it's more relevant lately as these events have gotten bigger. When you come off a massive event like Defense Con and it ends and suddenly you're just like, ugh, it's everyone then kind of like goes back down to reality. You're riding high off the Defense Con drug. And during CitizenCon or IAE, we're also riding high, or any of those events. And it is like a drug. You're riding high on it, and then you crash. And you have that little bit of period where there's that crash state. People start complaining. Spectrum lights up with complaints. And then the new shiny thing comes along. We get that dopamine hit, and we're back up again. You know what I mean? And that's not a for or against argument. It's just something I've noticed. Like, we're in a down state. CIG knows that probably on the 17th, which is a Wednesday, I think we'll get the Railen or Alien Week starts, and we'll go back high again because we'll have all these cool alien ships. It's not always ship related. Sometimes it's a big patch or some new feature tech or something, but it's always this kind of like up and then we crash for a bit. You know what I mean? And that when we crash, it's it's sort of like being brought back down to reality, and we are in that post Defense Con crash right now.
Well, see, it depends what causes the crash. My crash was caused by the bad ships at Defense Con.
Oh.
And as someone that's covered the game as long as I have, and I don't know if it's been the same for you, but I'm noticing this trend where the sales are no longer really for the veterans; they are for new people. And the ships that they throw at us veterans, we are lucky to get one good one a year, right? And what I mean by that is we kind of essentially got the Persis and the Paladin last year. This year, the Ironclad was there. That was probably that, and the Starlight were the two highlights there. But for me personally, I've already got a Banner Merchantman, so I look at the Ironclad and it's just not a ship for me. Now, I know it's a ship for other people, but it's just not that exciting to me. It's a flying bucket. Like, it just... There's nothing else there for me. Like, it's kind of a bit bare bones. And I know that kind of sounds harsh to say. To me, it was a means to the end of the Kraken,
Sure. Yeah, I think that's 100% what it was. But I will say this in the Ironclad's defense, and I would say this it's not just because it's a Drake ship, everyone, I promise, but the Ironclad, now, bugs aside, which will get solved, it was exactly what it was concepted to be. It's a flying bucket. It's got a command module, holds a lot of cargo. There's a combat version with a shit ton of guns on it. And then they spiced it up with a few extras like the VLS system and stuff. But it was exactly what was sold. So from that standpoint, it was dead on. So no issues there. But if that's not your thing, you know what I mean? For sure.
I think for me, it's just coming back to that Squadron's getting a bit long in the tooth, and I kind of want some more gameplay, and it's all being held up by Squadron.
I would definitely agree with that. Squadron is long in the tooth.
Like literally, we're literally coming up to the last date that was set was 2017. Like, next year is 10 years in addition to what was meant to have been added.
Right.
Like, this is one of the longest single player games that has ever been in development.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of ridiculous at this point. Like, it's far longer than GTA. I know they did it with a smaller studio. I know all that, but still, at some point, I wonder why they went down this road. And could they have switched gears and done Star Citizen over Squadron at some point? But I guess we'll find out in
Yeah,
the future what happened in the past.
exactly. Yeah, it's kind of one of those woulda, coulda, shoulda things, and I'm sure that there's a lot of stuff that if they looked back on it, they would probably want to do it differently. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, the last thing I'll say about this whole Star System Squadron 42 fatigues, just because I had some people ask, again, how I was feeling. I'm feeling pretty good about the game. I do like that they're mentioning 1.0 again recently more and more, or the vision to 1.0, the road to 1.0, whatever that is. There was a time period after that 1.0 presentation where they didn't mention it at all for like a while. So I am glad to hear that they're starting to talk about it again. That is nice to see. So that gives me some hope. I do like that so many backlog ships are being tackled, because there are some big backlog ships being worked on. Again, Railen, the Ironclads, the freaking Galaxy, the Kraken, Pioneers in development. There's a lot of ships that CIG is trying to truck through. Liberator, I do think the Liberator is going to be followed up at some point by Crucible. I have a good feeling that maybe we're going to get the Expanse later this year. So I think that there is a lot of focus on backlog ships. So I do think CIG is doing things to garner confidence in me. But I agree with you. Squadron, kind of long in the tooth, would be nice to get it out. So
I also think we are getting 3 ships at Alien Week.
Yeah, I think so too. We were kind of talking about that.
Disco talked or hinted at an alien snub. We also know that one of the ships is industrial, and the Railen is not industrial. So you do the math. An industrial snub is kind of unlikely.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what we're probably getting is a Railen clone, kind of like what we got with the Asgard or Tiburon to Hammerhead.
Yeah, agreed.
And then a snub. I think that's what we're getting.
And I think it's possible that snub, like with all snubs, I think it works with the Railen, works with this other ship probably, which would be really cool.
Yeah, it could do. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, on that Squadron Star System fatigue thing, now we're going to do another topic, but this one, we won't stay on too long. I just want to give my quick thoughts on this. There was a Reddit post essentially saying, that a backer with 5K invested was banned for reporting bugs. Xylo came out, nipped that shit right in the bud, and was like, no, this person has a long history of exploits, item duplication, all this stuff. Yes, they have essentially reported some bugs, but they've done a lot of this behavior and not reported as bugs, meaning they were utilizing the behavior to their behest. But what Xylo then said was that they were sort of reversing the permaban and moving it to a temporary kind of first warning thing. There's sort of 2 points I want to bring up here, and Art, I'd be curious your opinion, X, yours as well. The first point is, should CIG have reversed that permaban? The next one is, and this is what everyone's been talking about, well, this player put $5,000 in this game, you shouldn't be able to ban them, is how do we feel about people that have been put
that's entitlement.
Yeah, $20,000, $30,000 into the game? Should they be able to be perma-banned? So those are sort of the 2 big points there. And
hey, Graham, I'm going to give you $5, and now I'm going to kill Art, okay? Because I've paid $5, so I'm allowed to kill Art now, right? That's how it works, right?
Yeah.
It's my dream. I'm ready.
Well, and
it's like paid to get off.
I'm gonna bring something up here real quick too. I'm gonna bring up the calculator here, and let's do a little experiment. Okay, I have been playing World of Warcraft since 2006 or whatever. Now I haven't there's been a few years there where I didn't subscribe, right? But let's go ahead and just say, so that's 20 years, but there's probably a few years there that I didn't subscribe. So let's bring it down to about 15 years. Okay. So 15 times 12, so 12 months in a year, is 180 months. Okay, it's 180 months of WoW for me. Okay, so 180 times.
Are you following this? Because I know the American education system. Yeah. Did you know there was 12 months in a year? Art? Just
hey, checking. A lot of people don't in America. It's bad. So 180 times that $14.99 subscription fee for WoW is $2,698. Now factor in microtransactions, because yes, I've bought microtransactions off of WoW before and stuff like that, and that number goes up. I can get banned, permabanned in WoW tomorrow if I wanted. You know what I mean? So other games have been doing this for a long time, games that you can put a shit ton of money in. And actually that number would probably be higher because for a good 5-6 years in WoW, I was running 2 accounts. So so there's a lot of games out there that you can put a shit ton of money in that don't protect you from getting banned. And I do think CIG needs to stay on top of that for the integrity of the game. But that being said, RX, do you think CIG should reverse this ban to a first warning? Thoughts on that?
I think a 3-strike system is acceptable.
Okay.
Well, so here's the issue is they waited too long for this to get out to a point where it was everywhere. I mean, we saw Montoya covering it. We saw several other people covering it.
Yeah.
You know, it was all over. It was over Reddit. It was over Spectrum. It was over all this stuff. Here's the thing is they should have responded sooner and just said, hey, this is what this is. The guy has done this many exploits. Yeah. He's been warned this many times. Done. And left it be. The fact that they walked it back to another warning, it again goes back into, well, I won't do it this time. I promise I won't do it this time.
Are you saying that CIG is bad at communication?
I'm saying that they should have been quicker on the draw on this one. Especially when things when things like this start kind of catching quickly and getting shared, you need a faster response to be, and they did. It was a final warning. It's not a first warning. It's a final warning.
Let me respond to that. And I may counter you on that, Art, for one reason. And I totally get what you're saying and agree with it on principle. Here's my counter to that. And it's something Xylo said. He said, we don't usually respond on individual account actions, right? And CIG can't do that, especially when they get into the future game where there's this shit's going to be happening all the time. They can't respond to each one of these. I think the issue is that everyone, and this is why I try not to do this until days, sometimes weeks later, address some of this stuff where other creators will put videos out immediately. The reason I don't do that is because I do not have all the information. For example, I do think it's kind of strange that here's a backer with 5K or more invested into the game, and they're banned, and they're banned because of an issue council report. Okay, right away, pause. Does that even sound right? No, it doesn't sound right. Does that sound like something CIG would reasonably do? No, it doesn't. So, for example, I would never have made a video that was literally like, CIG, what are you doing? This is unacceptable. Because obviously that doesn't sound right. And there's probably more to the story. Same thing when my daughter's a teenager and she takes the family car out and then she comes back and says, I just walked out and there was a big dent in the side of it. Okay, I'm going to need more information from you because that don't sound it's like sometimes
that was my boyfriend doing blow.
Right. Yeah. It's going to be one of those things where it's like you have to take pause, realize when certain things literally make no sense. Like, why the F would CIG ban someone who spent thousands and then makes an issue council report? That doesn't even sound right. Like, it truly does not sound right.
I read it on Reddit and I went, there are 2 sides to every story. He's clearly leaving shit out, and I just moved on.
Yeah.
And I didn't even realize until we're talking about it right now that this actually went wide.
Well, and and it did.
That's how little it meant to me.
And it did, because I've seen posts everywhere about this now, on Spectrum, on Reddit, on content creators and stuff. Everyone, and I think
snake oil salesman. It was really obvious.
Well, and I think that is also a product of the information crash. Now we are post DefenseCon. We got to have something to talk about, right? We're kind of talking about it, but this, for any of you wondering why I don't make videos that react immediately to stuff, like when CIG drops a bit of news and then I've got a video out 20 minutes later on YouTube, the reason I don't do that is in my life, I've always been like, gonna sit with this information for about 3 days and then I'll respond to it. It's just one of those things where, like, yeah, when I read that, I was like, this literally does not sound right. I know CIG, I know they make mistakes, but even that makes no sense. You know what I mean? It just, I mean,
well, I mean, it goes back to, again, like you said, we have a status of the game right now where there's not a lot of stuff going on. Yeah. There's a lot of speculation about Squadron, so everybody's kind of super sensitive that nobody got any information on Squadron. You know, even with last night and everything else that was coming on, like, the last one that's going to be showed is going to be a single person game, and everyone's like, oh my god, it's going to be Squad, and it wasn't.
Yeah,
and everybody's kind of sensitive right now.
Yeah,
because we just had Astropub come out and say it's going to get delayed. We've had other people come out and say, is it delayed? Is it not delayed? And so
I've already heard information that contradicts Astro. So where I'm at the moment is one of the things we learned when we talked with Ben and John is there are different hierarchies in the company, right? So you've obviously got leads, you've kind of got the middle veterans, and then you've got entry-level people. They all have different parts of information. So
sure,
I don't know who Paul's exactly talked to, but my one of my contacts that is really high up is still telling me it's coming in October. So I'll believe it when I see it, when it goes either way. I'm just going to roll it across and go, it comes where it comes.
Right. And regardless of that, the issue was, this came out, and then the first thing, what did they come out and say? It wasn't the fact that, the guy, it was a $5,000 account that got banned for reporting a bug. And that's, I think, where
you wouldn't get banned for reporting a bug, period. Doesn't matter how much money you put in.
Right. But as a person who, a lot of people have just recently got into Star Citizen. It's a great mug, by the way. Not as good as the Polaris one, but mine was dirty because I drink out of it all the time. So I'm not ready, and I'll get points taken away from that. But
forgive you.
Anyways, with we've had a lot of
for those headphones.
Fair enough. With enough new players that have come into the game recently, with DefenseCon being the way it was, Ironclad being the way it was, and all this other stuff. Now you have information coming out saying, hey, now they're reporting people for if you're reporting on the game. So they had to come out and say it eventually anyways, that this wasn't the thing. But it's again, the sensitivity of that nature that leads, they've got to be quicker on the draw for, even if it's not case by case basis. When something comes out and it's the impression of that, they need to come out quickly and go, no, this is this. And then at the end of the day, they needed to keep the guy nuked. It is what it is, because now what they've taught is, if you create a big enough storm and you've got enough presence and have enough people push for you, you may get your account unbanned, even though you've exploited. Yeah. So the rules technically didn't apply to him because of that. Real quick.
Yeah. They have to also get everything authorized at CIG to go public. So, say Tyler went and wrote that, he would then have to go get it checked off to make sure he could release it. So it's not this thing that is just instantaneous. It takes like a day.
And a good example of that, and I hope this is not the case because I really like him. But
man, how did that kid get so attractive with a face like yours? What the hell's going on?
But when C-Daddy, when the Squadron 42 packages were removed from buyback, C-Daddy made that comment. I'm not sure whose stream he made it in or what it is. It wasn't mine. But he made a comment that was like, well, I don't know about it, and I would be the one that knew about it. I think situations like that, when they occur, and again, I hope that didn't negatively affect C-Daddy, because I like C-Daddy a lot. But when stuff like, but I just haven't seen him in streams lately, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it. But what I will say is, there's obviously different tiers of people making different decisions and acting on those without informing sometimes other people that have ties to that stuff. And you start getting this sort of like mixed messages thing, you know what I mean? And I think that's probably the delay in some of the chat. But again, I go back to playing devil's advocate for CIG a little bit. In the future, when they cannot respond to every little individual account notification, the content creators, the community, the player base, we all need to take a little pause sometimes when we hear this stuff that obviously does not sound right, and at least question it, and not put our post, CIG bans 5K player. We should say, why did CIG ban 5K player, and investigate it? Because apparently it did not take much investigation, not even by Xylo coming out. Other players were able to post stuff on Reddit showing the history of this player and the exploitation and stuff this player had been doing. Apparently it wasn't hard and was kind of a known thing. So it required very little work on the player base to do that research and learn a little bit more about the situation. Because technically someone could post tomorrow, Foxy Loxy banned because of his video. It doesn't have to be a true statement. And then suddenly there's going to be a lot of content creators out there before even contacting Foxy or looking to see if he was in game. So they're just going to run with it. You know what I mean? And I do think we need to take a pause, take a day, get the information. I do think there's a rush sometimes to things that's a little crazy. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes it is valid. We've seen times where it is valid. I mean, don't even get me started on these damn Odin essay drama again. There's times where it is valid. But there's a lot of times where the red flags are there that are like, what? This does not seem right. So
I also think there's a lot of content creators that ride the negative train because it makes money.
It generates a lot of views.
Well, that's how, if you've ever watched a documentary on like social media, they'll let you tell you negativity moves or is spread 6 times faster than positivity.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I have this thumbnail right here that is specifically for when the channel's not doing good. I'm just going to bust this one out. It's got the reaction face. It's over. Gravestone. More nose hair.
Yes, please.
Yeah. A nice gravestone saying recent temporary change has killed the game for good. That type of stuff. Obviously generates views for sure. I mean, that goes without saying.
I'm always trying to do clickbait ones because we're always making up stream titles, and I always just go I'll just say something like just utterly ridiculous, and then the whole stream we're laughing at people that come in and go, "What's this about?" Or trying to the audience plays along with it. So
Fastcart's joking in chat. Fastcart, someone could make a post that saying, Fastcar banned from Star Citizen. I guarantee you there'd be at least a couple content creators that just run with it. They'll have a video out. And again, it's that race to get a new video out before anyone else. That's probably why I haven't grown more than I have, is because I don't get the videos out first. But there's people that do that. And then they just run with stuff that's either not true, or maybe it is true, but the context isn't all there. So both very important things. So.
Starting to think this post that I found that was only posted 5 minutes ago, it says, Grim is not a Drake fanboy, but he is an Origin fanboy, but it's by Art Rules and Grim Drools. So I'm wondering if that's...
That's my dream. It's my dream.
Look, could Andon Arden make a series of calculated mistakes in his management of CIG, his management of Drake? I'm talking CIG. And his management of Drake to turn me off from Drake? It's possible, but it is unlikely. And as long as the Kraken keeps looking this damn good, it's very unlikely. I'm just going to say that. Okay. We got a couple questions here. Not a lot, but we do got a couple questions. We'll get through these. If you do have a question, pop it down in chat. We don't have too much longer on the stream. But Sejanus says, question, is Shipyard coming back? I answered this earlier. I'm going to answer it again, though, just for you all. STARJUMP is going to get a whole bunch of changes. They're actually in progress now. There's stuff that I meant to change a long time ago. Some of it is changes to just sort of the back end on how I run the show through OBS that has been a little clunky. I've been meaning to change. Some of it is logos and branding stuff. Some of it's how we do giveaways, stuff like that. So a lot of changes. Yes, pre-recorded Shipyard content is coming back. Okay. Socially Confused says, question, CIG switched the monthly ships for June and July. Could this be a delay to the Railen? No, they switched July and August is how I read that. July and August. So I would expect the Basher, if that was originally going to be July, has probably been moved back. They said it was because someone wasn't here or there was a CIG dev with a personal issue they had to deal with. It could have been just the artist working on that ship.
Or it was the one for August and it's already been moved forward. So
Right.
it'll depend on which one we
Could
get.
be, could be. No, but no, I think the Railen is on track for Alien Week, which I believe coincides with like Contact Day or something like that in the lore. I think is on the 17th. I could be mistaken on that. Could be the 19th. I'm not
You're
sure.
correct.
Oh, is this okay?
It's the 17th, and you were correct.
I'm not a lore master, but so yeah, I still think that's on track. Otherwise, they wouldn't have shown those really beautiful sneak peek images. That new turret image looks amazing. Commander Ketchup says, question, do you think we'll see pilot-controlled VLS missiles / torps on the Kraken? I do. I do think the Kraken is going to get a VLS system, actually. What do you guys think?
Nope.
I reckon we just put Art in the torpedo and fire him at the enemy. But, yeah.
Listen here, Execute. I brought you into the channel, man.
It's true.
Just one right after the other. It's okay.
You got to grease our up. He likes that.
You got to ban it back, bro. That's how it works.
Look,
you're not saying anything, so that's why I just keep going to get something out of you. It's starting to work.
I'll be honest with you. I think the Kraken will get the VLS system. There is room for it on the middle side, the middle superstructure in between the pads. It would be perfect for a VLS system. I'm not saying that it should get like a massive number of torpedoes or anything, but would it bother me if they gave this thing like 10 size 5 torpedoes? No. I mean, it's whatever.
Dude,
I
at that point,
if
they were size 5, man, I'd give you like 30.
Yeah. I mean, remember something. I'm not sure if CIG refers to it like this anymore, but for a long time, this was a light attack carrier, right? The attack word in there. So it's supposed to have some stuff. And we see the work CIG's putting into the weaponry for this thing. What did they say in that jump point issue? They said that the turrets were like a hero item on the ship. So the weaponry, the armament on the Kraken is a very important thing from CIG's perspective. So I think it's very likely the ship will get VLS system. So
makes sense too with you know, the way the ironclad and the assault land on the ground, and it's really designed for anti-fighter measures. The Liberators kind of got a similar thing with the PDCs. So the only reason I can conclude that this would not get it is because it already has the PDCs. Well,
true. One thing I was thinking of, remember, the Dragonfly Bay, which is right around here, was removed and moved to the bottom near the cargo bay. Smart decision, CIG.
Yep.
So now there's a room back here that's got nothing going on. What if there's a VLS system back here now? Could be.
Agreed.
I have no clue.
Agreed.
Yeah, I literally have no clue. Originally, I was thinking maybe it could go in this center superstructure, but I forgot there's actually like hangar entries under there. So yeah, it wouldn't be smart to put it there. But back here with this room, that would make sense. It could be something like that.
It'd be cool if there was a room near the cargo bay so you could actually reload the torpedoes internally. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. But, sort of like how the Odin has it where you load them from underneath. That could be really cool.
Exactly.
And remember, there's technically no reason why they couldn't have the VLS system launch out the bottom of the ship. Instead of launching up, they could launch underneath. I mean, I know that would be kind of weird. But
the only reason I disagree with that is that this ship, in a lot of the renders, as you've well aware looked at like I have, is this ship can land on planets and act as a base.
Yeah, that's true.
So therefore it really does need to be on the top, much like for the same reasons they are on the top on the Ironclad.
Yeah, I agree with that. And actually, it would make a big argument for being high up top to where it's not cutting across the landing pads or something. So who knows, everyone? Yep. Maybe we do get a VLS system back here in that room. That would be, I think people would like that addition if for the sort of Dragonfly Bay replacement room. Now, that could affect the Privateer. But again, the question is, does the Privateer need a VLS system? Which it probably doesn't. So that could be the replacement there. We'll have to see. I do hope at some point between now and the Kraken going flight ready, probably around IAE, I would like CIG to give us a look at what the new interior, even if it's white box or gray box at that time, what the new interior layout is going to be. Because we really haven't had anything since concept. So, okay, next question. Blisimo says, do you think CIG will add repair, rearm, and refuel to the Liberator. The original concept said it did not have it. Yeah, I think it's going to get it.
Yeah, it's very. There's that room on the internal side. So much looks like a garage.
Well,
I don't know if you can open an image. You know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's really obvious
Liberator
once you look
page.
at it. You just kind of go, yeah, that's clearly two bays that they can turn into and get.
Yeah,
like,
I don't have
repaired or
the Liberator page up yet, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot they can do with the Liberator. I mean, hell, the Liberator could get a VLS system for all we know. It could get a series up here at the front of both of these nacelles for all we know. I mean, you want to talk about a ship that's probably getting a fresh look. I mean, obviously we know it went through its pre-production phase. I guarantee you the Liberator got some adjustments, some major ones.
Yeah,
and
I've got the exact image. I'll send it to you.
Oh yeah, send that to me. And it would not shock me either if the Liberator gains a crafting station just like the Ironclad has as well. That also would not, or the Ironclad Assault, that would not surprise me at all. Pull this up. Oh yeah, okay. So this is from the end. This is inside. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so there's another.
That is way too big for the screen. You can't even see it
Oh,
properly.
that,
Scale it a little bit, just a tad.
yeah. Sorry, it went in my browser really scaled.
Oh,
up. I
wow.
don't know. Yeah. Oh. More and more and more. Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of room to do stuff in there. I think it'll get repair, rearm, refuel. I think it's going to get a crafting station. I think it's very possible it could get a VLS system for sure. So yeah, absolutely. I think all things are on the table for the Liberator. I'll say this. I think I've always thought the Liberator was kind of a boring ship, to be totally honest with you. And not a bad ship, just a boring ship, kind of vanilla. But if it got those other features, it would go from kind of vanilla to like really like something I would look at. I picked up, by the way, on Anvil Day, I picked up that Hull D to Liberator CCU because I have a Hull D. So I did pick up one of those for like, well, I forget what it was, $20 or whatever. So
I heard you talking earlier about this ship, how you think it's going to be done quickly, but I want you, and I do
not
agree with what
not
you're saying
quickly,
about,
just on the same timeline as the Galaxy, which currently I think it's on track for that.
I would agree with you. It's for fuck's sake. Okay, the image is too big to send to you. Give me a second. I want you to look at this image. I'm just going to send you the link because I think a lot of people forget this about the Liberator. There isn't a whole underside to this ship, right? And it's got like a power generator and a gravity thing and all the rooms on the side. There is a fair bit of stuff to this ship. But from the outside, yes, it does look fairly plain. It essentially looks like two barrels and a couple of planks.
Yeah. It's crazy how much room the gravity room has. The gravity generator room has. It does have a lot of space, but if you look at the scale of these rooms and these type of rooms, these are rooms that can literally pull from like the Asgard and Paladin kits.
Exactly.
So, you know, I just, if you look at, it's about the same size as a Galaxy, roughly. The Galaxy, I know, doesn't have a ton of internal space compared to its exterior, but neither does the Liberator. The Liberator has huge amounts taken up just by empty space pads. If you put it on that same timeline, I do think it's possible the Liberator comes at DefenseCon next year, right alongside the Kraken. If it's going into white box now, that's a year. The Galaxy's on even slightly shorter than that.
It's possible, I would say, but also things can pause.
Yeah,
because remember the Ironclad technically went into production, and then the Ironclad took 2 years to come.
Yeah. I also just don't know if the Liberator. See, I don't know. I'm honestly okay with being wrong on this one because I very obviously, and I know Jen and Tonic will probably say it in chat, I very obviously underestimated the excitement around the Liberator. Okay, everyone's talking about it now, but to me, the Liberator, as it's currently concepted, does not have enough spiciness for like a big IAE release. Personally, that's what I feel. If it got those additions, it would.
I know you also said, I heard earlier that the Kraken is not relatable to this. They are incredibly relatable. They're both listed as light carriers.
But
right?
but no, that's not what I meant though. But I meant more on like the price and attainability standpoint. They're playing in completely different worlds.
Yeah. This is way more attainable, and you're not wrong with what you said about the medium ships. But this is a poor man's Kraken.
It's a poor man's Kraken. But what better time to sell one? Because remember, when the Kraken goes flight ready next year, it's still going to be hull limited, and it's going to sell out instantly. And this might be the perfect ship to soften that blow at the same event.
Ships like this, the Ironclad Assault and the Kraken, are all going to start to have a heyday when ground combat comes around, right? Especially the Assault and the Liberator, because these guys are just waiting for base building kickoff. Because as soon as base building comes in, all those ground vehicles are going to have relevance, because you're going to have defenses around your base, and therefore, like, if you understand how the shields and stuff work, most vehicles can just drive straight through a shield.
Yeah.
Right? And a ship can fly through a shield too, but the missiles and shots cannot.
Oh, I mean, look, yeah, and just from a general standpoint, the Liberator is going to be as the Perseus is to combat, like, subcapital combat ships. Low crew count, all that kind of good stuff, but punches up. The Liberator is going to be that for carrier ships. It's the low crew count, attainable price point, non-hull limited carrier, and it's probably going to get those upgrades. I have no doubt that it will, and it's going to be very popular. I'm very well see that now, but from a development timeline standpoint, I do think this lines up very nice with Invictus or DefenseCon next year, whatever you want to call it.
I think if you look at it realistically, knowing base building's coming next year, regardless, this lines up well with base building. Right? Yeah. So I'm not going to sit here and argue with over a 6-month window. I'm just going to say,
no, I agree with you.
But knowing base buildings in 2027, this makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Next question. I got indigestion today. I don't know why. Excuse me. Next question from Sejanus says, question, with the introduction of ship carrying ships, can we expect a reduction on the distance that smaller ships will be able to travel without either being carried or needed to be refueled? Here's my thoughts on that. I don't know if CIG is thinking this, but I hope they are. I think the gameplay focus of carriers is shifting. They are no longer really ships to get another ship from A to B. They can do that. That's wonderful. But for me, carrier ships are essentially changing into repair, rearm, and refuel ships, essentially waypoints for ships to be resupplied or refitted. And I honestly think that fits their role better anyway, which is why I think the Liberator is going to get all those features.
Especially ballistics. If you kind of really break it down, the advantages of lasers is they don't need ammo, but they're nowhere near as strong as ballistics. But the problem with ballistics is ballistics run out. So you instantly can see that as a defender, you have an advantage because you can run back home and you've got ammo there. Right? Yeah. So it clearly becomes, well, if I've got a Kraken to go back to and land on, well, I've also got ballistics.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So you'll notice a lot of long distance ships, right? Like one of the examples is the Redeemer comes with those ballistic guns.
Yeah.
Not so great on a long distance ship. It's a really bad. They clearly put that on that ship because it just went into the game at that point. But it would be far better with just regular lasers, right? Because it's going long distance and then it's got nowhere to go back to, right?
Yeah.
But you can see something like a Perseus. It instantly makes Perseus a defensive ship.
Oh yeah,
because it's got custom ballistics on it, and you cannot put lasers on it at all. So that ship instantly becomes a defense magnet.
Yep, 100%. That's a great point. AKA 3913 says, question, are you happy with the ship's releases and quality of updates features this year? How do you feel about the rest of the year in regards to ships/features? Thank you.
I reckon I'm so depressed. That is exactly the reason I'm so fucking depressed.
I I won't frame my answer around the rest of this year. Let me frame it around the next 18 months. Okay. Because I'm really projecting that far out when I'm thinking about ships. And it sort of goes back to something XQ just said. If, as CIG has sort of hinted, I think in a recent Bar Citizen, if base building is 2027, like that's the year we're going to get base building. If that's the case, which would make sense, if we get Genesis planets later this year, I think we do need Genesis planets to do the base building personally. So I think you're going to see base building on Genesis planets first. When that happens, 2027 base building, we know there are requisites for base building. Not only do base building, but we need refining, right? So from a ship's features standpoint, the rest of this year could be really, really interesting. We could get refinery ships. We know the Galaxy's in production. Are we going to get that refinery module? Could the Expanse be coming? We also know that ships that can support base building efforts are coming. I would put the Liberator and Kraken in that category. We also know those sort of crafting / base building ships would come online. Starlancer build, Consolidated Outland Forge, the list goes on, right? So the next 18 months could be very interesting.
I was literally about to say the Pioneer and Forge have been paused.
Sure, but they could have already been restarted at this point. We don't know.
This is true.
Yeah, I mean, it was paused because I think base building got delayed a year to 2027 personally.
Agreed.
So maybe they're being picked back up. Again, now remember everyone, the Pioneer, as John Cruz said, is not slated to come online when base building comes out day one. But, that could affect ships like the Starlancer build, which I imagine is mostly done. The CSV FM, the little hover cart builder, right?
So
Yep.
I'll take the opposite of
Okay.
what your hopium,
Okay.
and I'll say that I feel they've done poorly this
Okay.
year. I think the quality of ships straight to flyable have been less than ideal, including massive bugs with them. We got a command module tech that's not working. To a degree now that we're putting a bridge on a ship that didn't have a bridge.
Maybe, hopefully.
to make it more feasible for players. We had the issue with the Moth. I suspect we're going to have more issues with these other ships. Hopefully not the Gattack, but I think we're going to have issues with that as well. I think the patches have been the cadence is nice. That bi-monthly cadence that they're trying to kick these things out has been nice. I think they are, to what Execute said, I think they're super focused on Squadron. So the ideal people are not there that should be there to kind of finally check those boxes, because the patches have been terrible. We had a patch that was surrounded, it was all about TSG, and TSG wasn't working at all. We have right now a patch that this patch was supposed to be base defenses, or the ship defense missions for the FR-86s. Those aren't working. They've already taken them out. Like, it's just spend the extra week or two, get it right, get it tested. Because here's the thing: is none of these were, to my knowledge, none of this was PTU tested. This latest patch was straight out to us, and and people are still having issues. They're still getting shard locked. Like, let us test it in the PTU before you push it to the PU where it's a problem.
Or tech preview and open the tech preview up to everyone. Like, I don't like, for example, tactical strike groups. In my opinion, they could have put in the tech preview channel, but not had it like Evocati locked or anything. Just open it up to everyone. And what you would have seen is, because you don't need to test tactical strike groups at scale, you just need to test them for the appropriate amount of players that would participate. So that could have been a perfect tech preview thing. Orgs would have flocked to it to test things out, but it didn't. So
none of the ships were tested in PT or Evo either. So none of those issues were detected. It's almost like they're more, and I know why, right? We all know why. They have to sell. right? They have to sell to make the money. And if they're not in a good state, people aren't going to buy. So it's this perception thing. I understand it, but let's be honest, we need to be a bit adult about this. And again, it almost goes back to what I was saying. I was joking with that, but it is an ongoing thing with CIG that they don't communicate properly.
Yeah.
Right. They need to start communicating with us like we're adults, not like we're kids, because they're always worried about that really loud minority. Well, guess who's going to take care of that loud minority? We're going to take care of them. So when they come out and blast thing out, we're going to shut them up.
Yeah.
Right. Like us as a community, that's our job. If they are making a loud noise, it's on us to shut them down. Right. Yeah. And we need to do that for CIG, but also we need to do it for ourselves because let's be honest, we don't agree with them. And yes, it is easier to do nothing and just hope they piss off.
Yeah.
But by the same token, if you tell them to shut up, 9 times out of 10, those people will start to shut up. And I think we need to do that more because it reflects badly on us because community CIG gets this feedback and it's from the wrong people.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. I'm going to burn through a few questions here so we can get closer to the end of the show, everyone. Question from Fastcart says, they said the Railen was Lot 0 early June. What's the worry factor that it will be broken like the Ironclad? I don't think it has the risk of being as broken as the Ironclad, but there are two specific things about the Railen that are a little different from other ships. And whenever differences come up like that, that's an opportunity for problems. The two differences I think the Railen has versus any other ship is that the Railen is supposed to have some sort of like Gravlev cargo dispenser thing, and then the other one has it's a way your components are delivered to you in the ship are a little different than other ships. It has sort of a component delivery system instead of you just going to that specific component bay and dealing with that component. This one has a component delivery system. And I've been wondering, how's that going to work with engineering and other things? Maybe they've changed it. I don't know. But there's a few things with the Railen that are a little different.
So it's really easy if you think about it. It's just that it allows them to have all the components in one space, and the animation and exit animation for components just all delivers them to the same spot. So it's basically like, when you had that stream that you did and it showed off the Vandal components and they were alive. Like they were living, breathing. Yeah, it's the same thing. This is just a different way that we all have different technology for different races. And theirs is just meant to seem more advanced. Yeah. But if you realistically think about it, it'll just be they'll be all behind the wall in a circle or a square configuration, and they'll just come out with an animation, and it'll come through some kind of little sparkly effect and come out. And as for the pods, Alg and I have talked about this at length. If you look at the projector tech that they use for the basketball courts and the back of the Spirit and stuff like that, we've theorized that you could basically have it when you're going to land. It shows you where all the pods are going to be. So you land, click a button, and it's literally just an animation of them coming down from the ship to the ground. And then you basically just put all your cargo into the pods, click a button, and all the pods go back up. So it's literally just a 2-tier state animation thing, much like how you have the states of the wings on a Scorpius.
Yeah, and it's not that it's hard. It's just it's new for them. So is that a potential fail point on the ship? Possibly. Who knows?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. What I'm trying to explain is I don't think it's new. It just seems different, but it's not.
Yeah. Okay. Another question here. And some questions, everyone, the question bot's been stopped, just FYI, so I won't get all of them if you've answered them. Vert2552 says, I'm a big part of an organ, especially yesterday after SGF. People were sad Squadron did not show up, talking Summer Games Fest. Big majority of people wanted to be out so SC can get some love. Isn't that Squadron fatigue? Yeah, essentially, it's just lack of it getting a firm date. Yeah, that's part of it, and we talked about that earlier. So,
we don't call it Summer Games Fest here. We call it Winter Games Fest. No, I'll be honest. They just need to change it to Game Fest. It's so bloody annoying. Anyway,
Via Gero Strolix, hopefully I said that right, says if it is in gray box, referring to the Kraken, by the way. If it is in gray box and the exterior is only finished when it's in the LOD 0 phase, how is it possible? They're showing us the exterior of the Kraken? And the reason for that is due to the change in the ship pipeline related to manufacturer kits.
The white box phase of ship development now is much more detailed. That is the biggest change I've seen to Star Citizen ship development is the white box, which there's an old episode, I forget what it is, one of the old Star Citizen shows, or maybe it was Inside Star Citizen, where they were showing the white box of the Merchantman. The thing was so simplified. It was like a very early white box model. It looked like a fan made it on Sketchfab. And now we're seeing
it was more like just working out where everything kind of went with boxes.
Exactly. Now white box has moved into a different category where they're using the manufacturer's kits, and CIG's even told us that white box now can fool you because you'll look at it and go, whoa, this looks really good. And in relation to the Kraken here, but I could pull this to other ships as well, what you're seeing here, and as good as this looks, it's going to look better, if you can believe that. Go back to when the Polaris exterior came into the game during Invictus for us to look at before it went flight ready. That was not final art. They were very clear that was LOD 0, and there was even some palm decals and stuff missing from that. And then what we got later on was slightly more detailed than that. So their exteriors, I think, are also getting just more prioritized at the beginning of the ship development as well. So,
to your point, Grim, you can actually use this image here in the last one because they don't often show the same place on a ship.
True, yeah.
But you can look at the last image. You know, the one you and I went over from to the side of this, and you can already tell that there's massive upgrades from that image to this one.
Oh yeah,
and that's only like a couple of months.
Oh yeah, big time.
And the other thing you'd agree with that they're generally doing on these bigger ships, they do the exterior because then they can use it as an asset in the PU for events or whatever.
Yeah.
Kind of like what they did with the Mauler. Like the Mauler has no internals at all, but it's got the external and it's got, well, I guess it's got some components and stuff in it, but you get my point, right?
Yeah.
It's mainly the external and then they'll come back at a later date and do the internals.
Yeah. And I think to get some ground on these ships, just from a production and artist management standpoint, I have a feeling the exteriors are actually a lot easier than the interiors when making these ships. And think about this. You're starting a new project that's going to occupy you for the next year and a half. Would you rather start on the thing that you can like get some ground underneath you and get some momentum? Or would you want to start on the part of the ship that is the hardest slog and it feels like you're not making any progress? So just from a mentality standpoint, starting on the exterior actually gets you some momentum, gets you some velocity build up so that when you do switch over to the interior, you're feeding off that energy. So I think that could be helpful. So Happy Merch says, why is concierge privilege or priority based on money spent a bad thing? When a lot of businesses value customers who spend more and typically tier their responses to concerns or questions based on revenue brought in or long-term account value. And then he just says, I know this is an unpopular question. I think this is a great question, Happy Merch. And to me, you're not wrong. The difference is that in the world of video games, there's a lot of value placed off of everyone starting on equal footing. That's why pay to win is always such a negative thing. Even though lots of players don't start off on equal footing, and there's ways to bypass that, people want the optics of everyone being on equal footing. I think that is something very unique to the video game world because, again, it's about competition at some very fundamental level. So I think that's why that is a problem for a lot of people. So,
well, and to your, like you said previously before, we kind of have that to a degree. There are a level of concierge things where you get access to things that others do not.
Yeah.
Now, granted, there's skins or something like that, and eventually they go, out and do other things, and they come back and people are able to get them later on. But I mean, it's there to a degree. Should it be? No. But, they've already used that some with the exclusivity of other ships. I mean, if you reach a certain price point, you get a free ship. Yeah. So having that, you do have some, I guess, tiered system to a degree. But when it comes to actual like tickets and stuff like that, I think it has to be based specifically on whether or not it's something that needs to be handled at this moment versus something that can wait a week or two to get looked at.
We're down to our last few questions, everyone. The next question here is from Via Gerostrolix. Hopefully I said that right. Says, in the rework, does the bridge only have one floor, whereas the original concept it had two? Pretty sure you're referring to the Kraken. We'll switch over to here again. On the original concept mesh of the Kraken, it very clearly has two levels to its bridge. There's sort of a lower level that's forward and an upper level that's back. And then on the new white box, we see some changes to the bridge, but it's a little bit deceiving because we're not seeing it from like a 3/4 angle. This part of the bridge here is still, I think, very forward. And then this bridge back here is still back and up. The only difference they made is that they put what looks to be windows on the bottom, angled in, and I think that is to allow people to have better visibility out in front of the ship and to the flight decks themselves. Because
agreed,
I took the concept mesh one time and put a camera, I don't have it ready or I'd show it. I put a camera pretty much where someone would be sitting, not right up on the glass, but back just a little bit in like a pilot's position up here, and visibility was terrible. You could see directly in front of the ship, but you couldn't see anywhere else. And one of the things I was like, when I did that, I was like, oh my God, this ship's going to be really hard to land. That's all I could think of. So I think the changes to that area are specifically to help with visibility. And I think in the long run, all the Kraken owners, including myself, will like that change because it's going to be a lot easier to deal with this ship.
Not a big fan of the struts on those windows, though. It's not going to have those glorious views that some of the other capital ships have. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, and obviously, I will say the bridge windows look very kind of simplified. I feel like this area hasn't been figured out yet. You know what I mean?
Let's hope it changes and we get it more.
Yeah,
Glass.
Yeah, I'd like to see some changes there. Whiskey Guy Game says, when are we getting ship refining? I think later this year. I think around IAE personally, or a little bit before personally. I don't know what you guys think.
Sorry, what was it?
When are we getting ship refining?
It's definitely got to come before base building. Yeah. We've got a Galaxy coming that has a refinery module. Yeah. You know, I think that kind of means that it's got to come before then. And I'm going to be honest, a ship like the Expanse makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, big time. Execute just died.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
Really,
we're not letting him die on stream. He could die after stream, not on stream. That's the negative press we need right there.
Yeah.
Execute died on stream. All Art's fault would be immediately what would be followed that.
Grim Dreamed Execute. Yep, I can see the problem.
Some content creators already making a video on that. But yeah, I mean, as you said, I mean, the Expanse is an easy one for them to push out. They've been working on smaller MISC ships. I think the Expanse would be something for them easy to do. Could come out the same time as the Galaxy even, and then you've got both a starter, and a large version of the new gameplay loop you just put in.
Well, even one of the things we see is like patterns. Like if you look at CitizenCon and AIE last year, we might even see the Expanse at like CitizenCon or around CitizenCon.
Yeah,
and then the Galaxy at IAE.
Yeah. I saw someone say in chat that the Kraken got chonky. She got an ass. She did get an ass in this white box. And hey, well, I'm a butt man. Here we go. Okay. Iron Thatcher says, question, will the Privateer eventually be able to be converted to a standard Kraken at Cousin Crows? Yes, they have said you'll be able to do that.
Not Cousin Crows, but a shipyard.
Or a shipyard.
You can go to a shipyard and switch it. Yeah.
Vert2552 says, question. We're on the last 3 questions, by the way, everyone. Vert says, comparing sizes to Perseus, what is the chance the Kraken's front turret is upgraded to size 10? It seems kind of so on the picture and makes sense seeing the Idris weapon. So I'm going to bring up that image again. Where is it?
Didn't they upgrade it from 7 to 8 or something, or 6 to 7 or some shit? I can't remember what it was. It went up one size and they made it bespoke.
Yeah, so I can walk through that because I think I have it worked out on what has happened with the turrets. So the very front turret, which is this turret here, Okay, this one here, I think is the new primary turret, not the one on the far nose, the one here. This turret, oh, and if you're wondering why in some images, this is the bigger turret and this is the smaller turret, but then on this image here, this is the bigger one and that's the smaller one, it's because the cinematic mesh doesn't have turrets on it at all. If you open it from the client, it has no turrets on there. Whenever you've seen them in my cinematics or CIG cinematics, we manually just throw turrets on there. And sometimes CIG just mixes up which one has the big turret. But this, from everything I can see, is the primary, okay? Here's that primary turret we can see because it sits back. I truly think this is a size 9 turret now.
Yeah.
If you actually, just where you got your
Not
mouse
size
there, you've actually got text there that you can highlight and it tells you what they did to it.
Yeah. The only thing is, though, is I think this text is on the wrong page. Essentially, it says that they were upgraded to accept size 7 guns and rotate a full 360 firing arc. I think that is for the forward gun, which was a size 6. I think those have been updated to size 7. So I think this one has too. So I think this gun here is either a dual size 8 or, based off scale, I think it's more likely this has been upgraded to a dual size 9 primary turret. And then the forward turret, this one here, this one has moved up from a size 6 to a size 7. And because it's a size 7, again, it's got the anti-fighter smaller turrets on it.
Well, that other image you had there also has upper guns on it.
Also had the upper guns as well. Yeah, you can see that there, which again, smart move by CIG. I do like that. So yeah, I think both of those guns have been changed and moved up a scale. And again, if we go back to that image right here where we can see the large turret on the bottom nose of the ship, we can see what looks like either a big remote piece or a manned piece with the 2 guns next to it. That either looks like a dual size 6 or a dual size 7 as well. So
it's like what you were saying earlier too. It probably helps remove blind spots to have a turret on the front there that can kind of shoot back down along the bottom of the ship. Because
previously the ship did have a major problem for blind spots on the bottom side. So on the taint of the ship, it had a lot of issues with firing cover fire. So
we've already said ass and taint.
Yeah, in the same stream.
The first stream since DefenseCon. Post St. Jude.
I swear like a sailor on mine.
I don't doubt that in the least.
Last 2 questions.
We get away with it on the stream though. Anyway.
Happy Merch says, on base building, how will they implement land claims in the first iteration? I don't know. My theory behind land claims, though, are that people that have land claims this is how I see them changing. I'm wildly speculating. I think the land claims are going to be converted into a thing where you get, if you got the estate one, you get a certain discount or grace period on paying taxes for your land plot. And then the smaller one, you get the same discount, but for a shorter period of time. Think like LTI sort of, but it's more for like taxes and planetary shield tech. You essentially get a discount or something on that for a period of time, or maybe it's free. I don't know.
They literally talked about when they were sold that you literally have them in inventory and you don't have to go down to the local land office and buy a land claim, so it saves you time. So on the very first day
so
when the game goes live, your advantage is that you've just got it and you can go straight out. If you know where you're going and you've played like before the game goes live, you go exactly where you want to put your claim down and you smack it down, and it just gives you an advantage on that first day.
Yeah, and specifically talking about the, for those of you wondering, again, if you're new to Star System, we're specifically talking about the Geotac land claim beacon. This is the thing you're supposed to be able to put in the ground to mark off your area to build. For all we know, these are still planned, right? Mm-hmm. So you would have one in your inventory and you'd be able to just lay it down instead of having to go to a landing zone, buy one, all that kind of stuff.
You do have to go back and register it at the claim office as well. So it only gives you half the thing.
Yeah. Last questions from Dillman94 says, question, Grim, what do you think Drake could do to the Kraken to keep it coming? Well, based off this image, I don't think they have to do anything. It's very obviously coming. If I read your question right, I mean, it's coming DefenseCon 2027. They've announced that. That is a thing they've put out there. They've now got about 11 months to get the ship done. I would assume, because of that timeline, knowing the ship has to go to downstream teams and stuff like that, while the exterior looks really far along, I would have to imagine that the interior is very well built out at this point, or chugging along pretty well. So I don't think there's anything they have to do to the Kraken to keep it coming. I think it's quite obvious there's a pretty sizable team working on this ship just based off the updates we're getting for it. So,
do you two think we might see the exterior at IAE?
I would like
how
to.
They had the Perseus like flying out a front above it or something.
I would love that.
Maybe somewhere you can walk around it or something like that.
I would love that.
I mean, even if they, if for some reason, with the Navy being still in Seoul, currently dealing with protesters, could we see, Drake offering to pull security for IA?
Yeah, there's sort of two things going on there with the Kraken being displayed. The first one is if we take it from the Polaris standpoint where the exterior is just displayed. The only thing that gives me a little bit of doubt on that is that I don't think it can fit in the gallery hall as is. I think they'd have to make substantial changes to the gallery hall itself. And they seem so, again, crunched on Squadron. I can't see someone redoing the gallery space for IE. Maybe I'm wrong. Again, the other thing is that maybe they put it in a different place, exterior-wise, to be seen. Another option, again, would be maybe it's flying around in space as exterior only. There's a few options they could do there. I would love for them to do something. Again, they've been pretty open and communicative about the Kraken development process. I hope they keep this level of openness about it as they continue through production versus ships like the Galaxy, where they've really been kind of close to the vest on it. So we'll see. We'll see. Good question.
A couple of options that come to mind straight off the top of my head is they had the Javelin parked up in orbit.
Yeah.
They had the Polaris that went around and did a similar thing. They even had an Idris one year in a hangar you could go into. So there's a couple options there. They could even put it up where they put the Idris there, mounted to the tower above Area 18.
They could.
So,
they absolutely could. That's a great
options.
option. Yeah, I forgot about that. That's a great option. So, okay. Everyone, that is the show for today. That's the show for today. We talked a lot. We had a good time. My next show will be tomorrow night. I'm going to be going through.
And then Execute showed up.
Yeah, Execute showed up. Where I'm going to talk about some Star Citizen 1.0 stuff. That should be tomorrow night. If I have to delay it, I'll make sure to get that out there as soon as possible. There's a slim possibility I have to delay it to Monday night, but it'll either be tomorrow night or Monday night. But we'll talk all things Star Citizen 1.0. We're just going to be kind of talking about that panel a lot, reviewing some of that. The reason I wanted to talk about it is I just rewatched that entire panel like a few days ago. I was trying to find one piece of information on insurance, but I ended up watching the whole panel again and just generated a lot of thoughts. So we'll talk about that. And then Wednesday next week, Skunkworks is coming back. I will be doing I think it's Tuesday. Come back during the day. We're going to do my lunch break streams again. And we'll start work on an Anvil carrier to sort of compete with the Kraken, something that's more designed around 2 medium ships versus small ships. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to send you all. Execute. Thanks for joining us today. Art, thank you for getting shit in order as you always do. Appreciate both of you. Yeah. I'm going to send you all over to the Astropub. Go give Paul some StarJump love. Say hi from all of us. And I don't know what he's doing. I think he's doing some refueling gameplay or something. I don't know what he's up to. He's in a MISC ship. I can see that. It looks like he's in maybe a Freelancer Max, though, so I'm not sure what he's doing.
He's transporting liquid gold, a.k.a. alcohol, back to his pub.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But everyone, have a great rest of your day. I do appreciate it. I'm going to go now and meet up with my wife. We're going to go do some happy hour at a nearby bar. So everyone, have a great rest of your day. Love you.
Is it the Winking Lizard?
Yes.
Sounds like the daughter is the daughter's the designated driver on the way home.
She's gonna have to drive us home. Yeah. But everyone, have a great rest of your day. Do appreciate you. See you later. Don't forget to enter that Railen giveaway, by the way. That will give away on June 17th.
I was going to say, when are we drawing that?
Yeah, drawing that on June 17th, which I think is when the Railen comes out. If they end up going flight ready on the Railen on the 18th, I may push the draw date a day back or something. We'll mitigate that. But all right, everybody, thank you for the follows. Thank you for the support, all that good stuff. Visit the StarJump merch store. And appreciate you. Everyone, have a great rest of your day. Sending it over to Paul.
See you, citizens.